Mic check 1 2.
Mic volume.
There
Testing.
it is.
Hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, great. All right, we're back. Okay. I wondered if anybody hear anything I just said, man. Well then we let's start over. Welcome everybody to the Fanatic Sports Podcast, episode 5. As you can see, I got my man Noel Sosa with me today. Man, so excited to see your face, brother. I know we talked a little bit ago, but so excited to see your face. Very excited to have some of the guests that are going to be joining us, man. This is like so you know, I'll break into it while we're waiting on some of the other folks to get backstage, man. One of the things that I had planned out, prior to COVID and prior to leaving, etc., was to get to work with you and bring light to the sports in the area, things like that, man. This podcast is I don't want to say culmination because that's the end of it, the final result.
Right.
But this is the birth, the birthing of all that work, man. And I've been podcasting and broadcasting for years now, so the chance to get to do this, bring you into it, man. Me and Ant been going for probably. I was looking back at it, so I'm trying to set up like my Instagram, like the top by the bio, and so I started playing with like some of the old broadcasts, some of the live reactions and things, and so it was very, very dope to look back at the growth going from broadcasting on our phones and just 4 of us and having people like Spider getting involved and everybody on top, to being able to do some things like this, and like I was telling you, man, we've gotten the opportunity now to start providing sponsorship for different entities and businesses. And not just, the cool thing is when I really sit and look at it, and it's all just from connections, a lot of them are Arkansas connections, but from being in businesses in Northwest Arkansas to businesses in Dallas to Atlanta to all over. And so trying to hit this whole region, man. So it's been very, very dope to see that. Now, speaking of advertising, you're a man that's been in advertising for a very long time now, man. Tell me a little bit about what you got going in Northwest Arkansas and the strides you make.
Man, I appreciate that. First of all, am I coming through clear? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're a bit muffled.
Okay.
Let me see if I can play with your audio.
Okay.
Mic volume. I wonder now. I think that's probably just my mic volume. I wonder if I can adjust your mic volume. Edit mic settings. Look at that.
There it is. Maybe.
Okay. All right. Echo automatically adjust. So I can, let me see. Let's test it now.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can hear you. It still sounds a little muffled, but I can hear you.
Okay.
And part of that could be my mic, my headphones. So look, man, while you're telling me that, I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the Angry Puerto Rican.
Oh man, here we go.
Man, we're excited to have always the backbone. I posted this the other day, man. The backbone of what we're doing right now, man. So happy to have you here, man.
Oh man, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
But yeah, so tell us more about what you got going. No, so please, man. I know it's a lot, and I'm excited to hear about it.
Well, like I said, man, it's an honor and a privilege to be here finally. Like you said, Bloka, it's been years, man, since we first started talking about, connecting on something like this, and to see you guys getting together. Two people I really respect and appreciate. Of course, you, Bloka, and my boy Ant. It's dope to be here. But yeah, man, Noel Sosa, a man of, I try to just say man of the people.
Man of the people.
But not a politician. Don't get it twisted, man.
Yeah.
But look, man, I just do my best to serve the community in the different opportunities that are available to me. Currently, I manage a radio group here in Northwest Arkansas. It's the largest locally owned radio group in NWA, Rocks Radio Group. Tremendous group of people here. It's some great brands and platforms that we have, and just doing our best to evolve the product and continue to bring value to the local marketplace and beyond, man. Because I mean, what we do, like what you guys are doing right now, this ain't just here or there. This is everywhere. So tap in with it, right?
Yeah. So look, let me before, and we're gonna move because I know y'all are limited on your time, but I gotta say, and I don't know if I've said it publicly yet, but we're gonna say it publicly today, man. One of my dreams, and I know I've told you this personally, one of my dreams living in Northwest Arkansas for so long was to get a media outlet that showcased and gave props to hip hop and urban arts and urban music. And man, you being a part of not one but two of those stations is a pleasure and honor for you to call me your friend, man. And I'm thankful that I get the opportunity to work with you every chance I get. And it's so dope to have you as a person, as a pioneer. Because me and Ant were talking about this the other day, man. When you sit back and look at what we've done over a 15, 20-year period, you don't think about it when you're in the moment, but when you sit back and look at your laurels for a minute, man, it's beautiful to get to see that. But right now, speaking of, I met him through hip hop, but this man is one of the most unique and awesome gentlemen that I get the pleasure to work with and call a friend and brother. He's NerdAthlete's founder and director, and a coach and rising boxing star with Straight Right Boxing out of Little Rock in Northwest Arkansas. Ladies and gentlemen, we gotta make some noise for Bernard Big Smooth Oliver.
What's going on, Bernard?
Hey,
what's up, guys?
Hey, man, listen. So here's the deal. We've done a lot of work together, and so for me, getting the chance to work in front of everyone, because a lot of the work we did was behind the scenes, man, and so getting to do it here is so dope, And the other thing that's really awesome is, man, the work you do, the passion you put into it, the time, the energy, the effort. Like if nobody else tells you, man, trust me, it does not go unnoticed. It does not go unnoticed, man. So I gotta shout you out there. But just in general, man, like what I see you doing is very, very cool. And that's why you're here. That's the main reason you're here, not because you're an awesome film director, because that right hook is something that needs to be studied. But because the passion, the energy, and the effort you give to everything is what makes it go for me, man. So I can't say thank you enough. Super happy to have you here. And I know you're limited on time, so I'm not gonna take up a lot of it. So with that point, and we're gonna get right to, before we talk about all the cool stuff, we got to talk about we're gonna talk about all the teams in Dallas, but we're gonna start with the one that's playing currently. So tell me a little bit about what you thought. It was a weird offseason for the Cowboys. No, not a lot of movement in free agency, and not a lot of and there were a lot of questions about where dollars were going to go, and they still got to pay Micah, if I'm not mistaken. So tell me your thoughts on this offseason, and then of course we had a week 1 win. So tell me about what you think so far about your Cowboys.
You talking to me, Block?
Yeah, offseason in week 1.
Man, here's the thing. Being a Razorback fan and Cowboys fan is probably the most stressful, heartbreaking thing in life when it comes to sports. The Cowboys, it's really hard to be a Cowboys fan because they're so good and they always choke when it comes time to not choke. And it could be the referees, It could be them. It could be chemistry in the locker room. It could be anything. It's always something different. We know that they're a good team. They got some of the most money in the NFL. They can pay for a really really good team, but it seems like every time that it comes down to the wire, they drop the ball, both figuratively and literally. They dropped the ball. So, man, I'm happy that they won in week one. But they always pretty much look good at throughout the season. It's when it comes down to making that playoff run or getting back to the Super Bowl that we haven't seen that since I was barely walking.
Look, I'm holding back the jokes because we did talk about that right hook.
I'm not that invested in the Cowboys. Trust me.
Look, when we talking about referees and stuff like that, I guess you could say that for the Razorbacks. We're not gonna get on that that sadness that happened on Saturday, but we will talk about Saturday. I mean, on Sunday. Sunday, what you guys did, man. You guys don't have a run game. That's the only thing I've noticed. I mean, this is just incredible. You guys have a great receiving core. You guys have a semi-par quarterback. You guys won that game, and I just gotta ask, where do you see the future of your Cowboys? Like, do you actually see the Cowboys going somewhere this year? Are they Super Bowl contenders?
I'm never gonna be that person that says they're Super Bowl contenders. Is to be Super Bowl contenders, you have to fix things in the front office. And I'm a realist. You can't BS and blow smoke at being a boxer. We don't do that. I don't pat you on the back and say, "Oh man, good job," when you really did crap. And things have not been. I'm gonna be honest with you. In the front office, things haven't been great since Jimmy Johnson was there, and there was a really, really, really small window of when we thought maybe Jimmy Johnson was gonna leave that desk and come back to coach, and it was a very, very awesome thing to think about that. But Jimmy was like, "Hey man, I'm good. I'm relaxing." He probably was more like, "I don't have to deal with Jerry anymore." Until things get fixed in that front office, I feel like they're just gonna keep throwing money at things, and throwing money at things doesn't fix play on the field.
Nothing.
You just get superstars. I can't even say you get superstars. You get people who can perform, but people that don't perform, they have the potential to perform. So Super Bowl stuff. I think we've been let down enough to not be. If you're a realist, to not be like, "Oh man, this is our year. This is the year it happens." Hey man, I'm a realist. They've always had the talent. They've always put up the numbers. Most oftentimes, a lot of times, we go back to the Romo years when the Romo was putting up the same numbers as the quarterback who won the Super Bowl. How are you doing that and you're not even making a playoff run? Something has to be wrong there. Something has to be fixed there. And, I personally don't feel like they put enough time into fixing the things that need to be fixed. And it's in the front office.
So let me get you in here because you're a native. Tell me, you're a Texas native. Now, are you a Cowboys fan as well?
I mean, I like the Cowboys. Here's my problem, man. I'm real specific when it comes to my sports. Like,
okay,
I will talk boxing all day, every day, to nauseum. And I can talk about golf a little bit too. But outside of that, mainstream sports, man, I really hadn't kept up with for years. But as far as organization, because I always look at things like from a business perspective.
Okay.
And I love what the Cowboys have done with their franchise. I mean, some people compare them to like the Yankees of baseball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Dallas Cowboys. So I love what they're doing, but I think Bernard touched on it, and that just through casual conversations, everybody's always talking about that front office.
Yeah, it's work to be done there, that's for sure. So let's get into why both of y'all are here to start, and it is the boxing, man. The boxing world is on a brink right now, I believe. So, and I said this last week. When it comes to boxing, I always hold that above as the highest combat sport. I love MMA, but when it comes to boxing, the sweet science, when you get into, you got two tools to use and you got 6 different ways to use them. And that is pretty much it. Now you can sneak a couple other things in there, but it's one of them things for me where you do the work, You get on the road, you do your work, you come in and you put in the effort in the process, and it's gonna always pay you back if you work hard enough, or more importantly, if you outwork that man, you finna go after.
Facts.
So talk to me a little bit about, and we've been through your career, Bernard. Talk to me about what you're doing as a coach and what you're still doing as a boxer as well.
Well, things look really, really, really awesome for boxing as far as straight right goes, and as far
Yeah.
as boxing in Arkansas for us.
Yeah.
I've gotten down with Ebony and Ivory Promotions.
Yeah.
Based out of Northwest Arkansas and Little Rock. They're putting their second show on October 11th. I'm getting into the promoting world. It is a beautiful and wonderful thing to be able to be the top and the kings of boxing in Arkansas. And people like Calvin, Hot Sauce Henderson on our roster, you got world champion contenders, that come out of our gym. And it's always been an uphill battle for us, and it's always been a wonderful thing to be an uphill battle because we go to tournaments. When I was ranked number 7 in the country as an amateur, we go to tournaments and they'd be like, "You guys got boxing in Arkansas?" And then we get out of the ring after our fights, and they'd be like, "Oh, y'all got boxing in Arkansas?" yeah, we do. You know what I mean? So it's a weak region when it comes to amateur boxing. There's a lot more noise being made in the pros and the amateurs than you would think. But we are a pretty weak region, and the Mid-South in general is a little bit weaker. But there's so many things that go into that and why that goes on, and a lot of it comes down to the same things that are happening to me in the pros is that people are not fighting. They're signing contracts and they're not fighting.
Wow.
The amateurs, it boggles my mind why people are not fighting, why they sign up to be at a show and they don't come in. When I started boxing back in 2000 and I think that was 15, 16.
Yeah.
You get you call these bouts smokers, right?
Okay.
You show it's a smoke them out. You come out, you see who shows up. We get matched up, man. We got 30 fights a night. It's going down all throughout Arkansas. I'm talking about Podunk, places you never heard of, Agape Youth Ranch, Hot Springs, Arkansas. Fort Smith, you got 30 fights a night happening. We there all night rocking and rolling. The TV crews are there and it's cool. And man, you'd be lucky if you get 12 fights now. And it's crazy to me because there's more. At least it feels like there's more gyms in Arkansas now, man. But from USA Boxing handing out crazy rules and stipulations to the Olympics being the way that it is to things in our state not being handled the way that I would handle them. It's weird and it's sad to see sometimes, but just please believe that boxing is always here and it's always going to be around. As long as people are struggling, there's going to be fire in the red,
somebody going to need to find a way to pay their bills, man. And it's a hard hustle, but it's a good way to do it. So let me get you to jump in on the business side of it. So one of the things I did see, and I can't remember if Bernard, I saw it on your Facebook, but someone connected to you, I believe, talked about the hotbed that Arkansas is. And it makes sense, right? You talk about the promotion side of it and then the money that can be made. And there's already great sponsors and big businesses in Arkansas. It's setting up for Arkansas to be a great hotbed for boxing. So talk a little bit about the business side of that for you.
Well, I'll talk about it, but I'm going to have to, shoot a question over to Bernard so he can explain it in detail. But I saw that same article, and I think people are now starting to realize, because of certain factors in the NIL world, just how big of a potential there is for Arkansas to grow in certain spaces, especially when it comes to sports. And music. That's another area that this area is wanting to grow in, or at least the powers that be are wanting to see this area grow in. But Bernard, Bloka's asking the question about business. I don't think people really understand all the heavy lifting that it takes to put on a boxing show. Look, literally, I've worked thousands of times throughout my career, my 23 years in the entertainment industry. Actually, it's been longer than that. That's just my radio career.
Right.
But, work with tons of promoters and events and festivals and all different kinds of shows and concerts of all different sizes and kinds. And it is way more heavy lifting to put on a boxing show than it is those type of events. I mean, you've got to factor in. Obviously you got to take care of the fighters, but you also got to take care of the commission. You got to take, the sanctioning fees, or the paying the commission. Like I said, the judges, the doctors, any type of insurance that needs to be purchased, the venue, the lighting, the audio. You having a DJ, or you having a host, a ring announcer? How about ring girl? I mean, brother, it is a huge undertaking to put on. Not an event, much less a successful event.
Yeah.
Bernard, I mean, you want to elaborate that, Bernard? Because I mean, you've been involved. You know how hard it is. It ain't easy putting on a boxing show.
It's not, man. It's very rewarding, but man, it's super stressful. Being a fighter and a promoter I wouldn't wish it on anybody, man. But I'm blessed to be around people who are really good at their jobs. My coach Kevin Lightburn, my cut man Matt Hamilton. Ebony and Ivory Promotions, the Arkansas Boxing Foundation that helps keep kids in the gyms and off the streets, man. We all kind of come together and we make these shows work, man. We've been blessed to sell out our last two shows. And Sosa's been around. Thank you. And that's not something that people are doing in Arkansas. You know what I'm saying? I think we had I know we had 1,500 plus at our first show in Springdale. It was our second show, but our show that we came back up to Springdale, first one in Springdale, Northwest Arkansas, and then we went down and did Bike Night, Fight Night with partnership with Harley Davidson, and the fire marshal kept coming up and was like, "Hey man, we're at capacity. What are we gonna do?" And there's a line of people outside, and we're like, "Well, if we move some tables and we do this and we do that, can we get them more? Okay, we can get 20 more people in." And he did that about 4 times. I was really happy because he was cool, but we did that about 4 times, and we were able to make it work to where it was safe, where it was sold out, it was standing room only, and it was fireworks in the ring. Man, people don't understand how much goes into a show. And like I said, nobody's really doing that. I mean, Noel he's seen us from nothing until where we're at right now, and hopefully going to be around in the future when we really, really blow up, man. But there is such a hotbed here for boxing that there's a lot of talent that may not get recognized, and I am going to do my best as a fighter and a promoter to make sure that these fighters get put on scene and they get to get seen, because there's just so much that goes into a boxing show. People don't realize, man, that making a boxing show come together and it be successful is man, it's hard. It's hard
work. Oh my God. Like it's funny, he says literally, he says heavy lifting. I watched you, the process of you putting the ring together. Like,
literally,
literally
getting that ring up, hauling it down there, picking up all that heavy stuff, coordinating, doing this and doing that, because all the way down to if one of these poles falls over, it's gonna break this floor, and then we're gonna have to pay for that. It's just a lot of little intricate things that go into making a boxing show that I feel like some people don't pay attention to, and then other people who are outside of it are enjoying the show, and I'm so happy that they're enjoying the show. But you can see the quality, from one of the shows that I've been involved with.
Bernard, it's kind of like, when you watch the Diamond State shows out here, like the wrestling shows out here. They're those guys, they all put together. You got Pineapple Jack, Dusty Gold, a lot of those guys. They're putting a lot of effort into. Hey, we're gonna help put this ring together. We're gonna put these. We're gonna showcase all of that. And I get where you're coming from, and it's kind of dope to see that promoters actually getting there, getting his hands dirty. That's actually really dope. Like really dope to me to hear from your aspect. I do have a question for both you and Noso. All right, so you both know Calvin, and you guys are really we all know Calvin. Calvin's a great guy. Known Calvin for about 4 years now. Talk about your relationship, both of you. How both of you guys have been able to, talk about, basically have that relationship and be able to say, hey man, this guy is legit. Where did that come from with you, Bernard? Starting with you, Bernard, and then Noso, I want you to chime in after. How did that relationship come about?
Well, it's really funny, man, because Calvin is like my brother, man. I promise you, there's nothing that he could come ask me to do, and I wouldn't do it for him. And I can't say that about a lot of people outside of my coach and my mom and Calvin. I can't really say that about a whole lot of people. But it's so funny because when I met Calvin in college, man, I didn't like him. And I didn't know him. I was young. You got to forgive me. I was young, and I judged people by what they looked like rather than how they were. And I just always felt like Calvin had this look on his face, like I'm the stuff. I ain't gonna cuss, but
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
Please don't, else you're putting something in the swear jar, man. Like, yo, you
No,
curse
I'm
on here,
good.
you putting something in the
Yes.
swear jar.
So, I met Calvin at the U of A Boxing Club. Man, he ended up bringing my coach, Coach Kevin, way, way back, man, when the U of A was really, really, a little apprehensive about letting us box in the hyper. And, Calvin is a very, very humble, awesome dude. And he's always been a very humble, awesome dude. And so we always laugh about how I didn't like him. Like Calvin be like, man, you remember when you met me, man? You
Oh,
didn't like me,
Lord.
man. He's like, that hurt me. That hurt me, B. And we'll laugh about that. But Calvin, man, he is one of the hardest work. He may be the most hardest working boxer that I've ever seen, man. It's very contagious being in the gym around him, man. And everybody can't hack it when they come in the gym with us. I mean, I've had guys come in that train with Freddie Roach. They're trained out in L.A. That people come in from Germany, people come in from Kazakhstan, all these crazy places people come in from
Wow.
to little old Springdale, Arkansas, and they
Yeah.
just can't handle working out with us. And me and Calvin just shake our head and laugh and keep working.
Yeah.
It's difficult and it's hard and it's very contagious being around somebody that is world champion contention in world champion contention. You either find your way out or you get next to him and some of it may rub off on you. Man, he is a very, very awesome father. He's a very awesome friend. He's an awesome brother. He's an awesome just husband. An awesome coach, and he's a great guy, man. And he'll get in the ring and he will beat the snot out of you. And it's really cool to have somebody in this area who is on the with names like Caleb Plant and David Morrell and Edgar Berlanga and there's a lot of people that talk a lot of trash online because that's what people do. But I'm in the room when those phone calls come through. When Edgar Berlanga's team is like, oh no, man, Henderson's too dangerous for us. We can't take that. You got the Caleb Plants out there who comment on every person that's talking trash to him except for Calvin, and you skip over that one. And there could be a reason for that. I don't know the reason, but I know what it looks like to us. It looks like you don't want to get in the ring with him. He gets in there with David Morrell,
Wow.
and he gets a very, very controversial stoppage. And it looks like he gets knocked out, technical knockout, but then Morrell puts two guys in a coma after that. And, at the end of the fight, Calvin's still standing up. He's like, we just wanted a fair chance. He just wanted a fair chance against somebody, and you don't get that. So when I tell you Calvin's real, and a lot of the people in the boxing world, I'm talking down to, Jeff Mayweather and the people that I've been around. We go out to Vegas and we see these things. These people know that Calvin is the real deal. You don't have to blow it up or, say anything. And if I was in Calvin's position, I would be a lot more angry and vocal. And the cool thing about it is Calvin,
he's been very cool about it.
very cool, and he gets slighted. And
because he don't got no angry Sosa in his life right now. That's why. He don't got no angry Sosa in his life. That's the problem.
Yeah, but he's an amazing fighter. He is a generational fighter, and I don't say that lightly. I say that because all the older gentlemen in boxing, even people like Ann Wolfe, has said about Calvin that he is a generational fighter, and he's an old school boxer, with those people like Hagler and Hearns and those guys. I don't care if I get a loss. I want to fight the best.
I'm very glad you brought up old school fighters because
I
got something, but I need No Soda. I need No. Yeah. I need No Soda to chime in and talk about his relationship with Calvin, man, because I know he goes way back with Calvin as well.
Well, I go back. Not as far back as Bernard does, but he was one of the first people I met when I moved to Northwest Arkansas, and that was in 2016. But man, immediately we energy was great. I had a little bit different. See, I liked him when I met him. Maybe that's because he was introduced to me as a boxer. I was like, I don't get my ass whooped. But 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 I remember he was early on, in his pursuit, and it was great to meet him and to get to know him, and it's been an honor to just to kind of see his journey. And man, he's been A1 since day one with me, man. Like I said, he had great energy. Look, I have people, man. Listen, the best way I can say it is like this, man. How many times you've been sitting down with somebody watching a boxing match or a fight, and oh, get up and hit him. Why ain't he doing this? Why ain't he doing that?
Yeah.
I want to turn around to them and say, hey, have you ever fought somebody for longer than 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Have you ever actually fought? These guys have been fighting for 30 minutes. Don't again, it gets lost on people how difficult that really is. Go hit a heavy bag that don't hit you back for 2 minutes straight and see how you feel. Okay,
Get tired.
That's all I want to say, man. Go over there and do that and see how that works out. But no, man. Calvin, from the moment that I met him, has been an ace of a human being, just an outstanding guy. He's never had anything but positive energy, and that's even in some of his downtimes. Through going through some of his injuries and some of the uncertainty that he has faced. I can't say enough of good things about him. He's got an infectious smile. He's got great energy, and is just a stand-up guy, man. I mean, there's not one bad thing I can say about the dude. And listen, those characteristics I think are what has helped him in the ring, because that's the thing about boxing. That's part of the reason why I love the sport so much. Teddy Atlas, who was a famous trainer and now commentator and has a podcast himself, he calls the boxing ring the chamber of truth. It's because all the truth comes out in the ring. All those character flaws, it is a space where those things can be revealed. It's pulling back the curtain, because you're essentially you're in that ring, and only the truth will stand up by the end of that. So I mean, if you were supposed to get up at 4 a.m. and do road work, and you hit the snooze button, and end up getting up at 5:30, it's going to show up. If you were supposed to be on a strict diet and to watch your calories, your intake, your proteins, and you had a cheat meal here and there, had some cheat days, or you snuck in a little cheesecake, that shit shows up in the ring. It shows up in the ring. If you were supposed to be, training, 6 days a week, doing, conditioning in the morning, strength training, and you decided you were going to do 5 days a week, it's going to show up in the ring. The truth shows up in the ring, and so does your character. Who are you really? They say you must not just fight like a champ, but behave like a champion, because when you have to dig deep and find out what you're actually capable of, if you don't have those characteristics, guess what? It's going to be a painful price to pay.
Oh, yeah.
But I say all that to say, Calvin is a man who does have those characteristics, and that's, I think, has served him not just in life, but obviously in the ring too, man. Ace of a human being, and he fights like it.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you a funny story. So, I've met Calvin numerous times, man. Every time, man, he's always getting some salsa for me, man. And, I've gone down and delivered him some angry salsa. And it's always funny, man, because, like, he's training somebody. He'll be talking to me, and he'll look at somebody, be like, no. That wasn't a great jab. That wasn't a great jab. And he'll turn around and look right at me, like, and have finished that conversation. I'm like, man, you're a man of dedication. I can see that. And that's kind of dope to see. He's just overall his charisma, like it's amazing. I think a lot of people misjudge the fact that maybe he's going out there saying, I want to fight, but they don't realize the man is actually charismatic. The man actually is energetic. He's literally like that when you meet him the first time you meet him. If he doesn't know you from Joe Smo in a wall, he is that same way, and he's going to give you that same energy. And I just love that energy about him. So I guess my question to you now, Bernard, is, how have you helped him get where he is now?
Yeah, man, I took it upon myself. And I've learned broadcast journalism at the U of A, and I love the journalism.
Shout out to the University of Arkansas and broadcast journalism, baby.
I'm the alumni president for the School of Journalism now, and I love reaching out to youth and all that kind of stuff. But in 2020, and I had been working on a documentary for a long time, and I had to take it upon myself to tell Calvin's story because I was so upset that you had this guy doing all these things. At the time he had two title belts. He had a regional belt, and he had an intercontinental belt. And what nobody was talking. I could not get even former coworkers. I worked at Channel 5 for a little bit. I tried to reach out to all the news outlets and 4029, all these people. Sometimes they would come talk. Sometimes I'm not trying to badmouth them, but
Sure.
they felt that things were more important than this boxer in Springdale. And I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna tell you a story, Calvin. I'm in the gym with you. We're both contenders. We're both, he was ranked number 4 in the nation. I was ranked number 7. We're both at that level to where people will never get to be at this level. They'll never know what it feels like to have your hand raised, be a champion, be a Golden Glove champion, be in the top 10 in the country. Let me tell the story. I'm gonna tell the story. And he was like, man, let's go, let's do it. And it came out to be the most beautiful thing that I've ever done in any of the art that I've done, man. It is so rewarding. And I didn't think that I was gonna win any film festivals or anything. I just wanted to tell the story. I just wanted people to know. I had no idea the reach that it would have. No idea that I would get nominated in Japan or Greece or Istanbul or all these crazy places that I never thought the film would reach, and that a crowd would actually want to see it.
So the interesting thing, and this is a perfect transition because the next thing I wanted to talk about was not just that you're amazing in the ring, but the work you do and the passion you put into it. And I think that's the thing. It's not even about I watched the trailer and looking forward to getting to going back and sitting down and watching the full thing and digesting the entire.
Watched the whole thing yesterday, man. I enjoyed every bit of it.
Man,
Thank you so much.
The passion and the story that you tell. And so when everyone else is talking about Calvin, one of the interesting things for me is that I've known Calvin for a very long time. I moved to Northwest Arkansas in 2005, and I met Calvin Henderson long before he was hot sauce. Just from being on the yard with him, two Greeks interacting and working together in times. But one of the cool things that, as everyone's described, he was always been this great ball of energy. And, we're not in the same fraternity, but just kind of having those interactions. One thing I could always say is that Calvin is this awesome human being. Before anything else, as Noso described, he's an outstanding human being. And I think that's what comes out in the story. I think that's what people get to see. And that's the beauty of what we're doing here, is that we're getting a chance to tell a story of an awesome human being, his ups, his downs, his failures, and how they've made him great. And at the end of the day, you still got to call the man a champion.
So let me ask you, man, what did you think about the film, man? Let's get your take.
Man, outstanding. I'm pretty sure, Bernard, I had to have sent you a message to give you your props because it was very enjoyable. And we've all said these complimentary things about Calvin, but in the film, you're watching the journey of a guy who is in a game where shit ain't sweet, man. Like it gets real out there,
Yeah, man.
And I mean, the way Bernard captured the story, I thought was just incredible. It was outstanding, man. To see the journey, to see the different, like you said, the highs, the lows, the obstacles, the animation. I mean, the atmosphere in some of those places, man. I mean, going into somebody's backyard and them getting loud with you and everybody's I mean, to take the challenge, to step up to the plate. Listen, man, a lot of these guys, Bernard was talking about people don't want to fight. Well, listen, man, boxing has been, gets very political. Very political, and it's all about matches and who's gonna have the advantage, or who gets to say in this, or who's gonna agree to these terms. And but man, Calvin, taking some of those fights, stepping up to the plate, and then doing the work. I mean, coming through when people thought that maybe he couldn't. There's just nothing like boxing, man. I say this all the time. Boxing is a sport, but unlike other sports, it is not a game. It's not something that you can play, man.
So with y'all both being, and y'all could chime in, whoever wants to chime in first, y'all both, boxing fanatics. My big thing is I've always thought as boxing is more mental than physical.
Yep.
It's always more mental here. However you go throughout that day is what you're gonna go through your fight. And talking to Calvin, Calvin's always said, it's either it's hit or miss. Depending on how my day is, I try not to let anything get to me. When I'm getting ready to fight. How do y'all look at it when you're looking at it? No sell from the outside, Bernard. When you're looking at it, you're in the inside in the ring. How do y'all depict that? Like what do you what's the everyday standard?
Noah, you want to take it first?
I was gonna say, man, you're the one who's in there. I'll give an outsider perspective if you want to start first.
Yeah, man. So here's a cool thing about being a boxer. Like when Noah said that the truth chamber comment, man, we've always had a thing called truth serum. It's the same thing. If you are not the person that you say you are gonna get exposed in boxing. And that's the really, really cool thing about it is that I've been in the situation where I get to now say that I've been knocked down before. I only got knocked down one time in my entire career to boxing, amateur or pro. But it taught me a valuable lesson, and my feet were crossed, and I was out of place, and the guy threw a punch when my feet were out of place, and I thought I was near the ropes, and my butt was in the middle of the ring, and I touched the canvas, and I'm really really harp on footwork now because the only thing that ever got me knocked down in the fight was bad footwork, and it was just a mistake that I made. I crossed my feet for a split second and it happened. So I dedicate myself. My nickname is Smooth. I
Yeah.
got great footwork. I cannot have bad footwork when my nickname is Smooth. That's the first thing
That's a fact.
that Coach saw when I came in the gym, and so he actually called me Ghost for like 30 seconds. That would have been so cool. But I love being Big Smooth. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, being in the ring, it's just my second pro fight, I got hit in the second round. I got hit in the eye, and I had double vision. I haven't really told this story out in public, but I had double vision from round 2 to round 6, and you could never
Ooh.
tell that I did. I remember there's a specific part in the documentary where Calvin is talking about the fight with Brandon Robinson, and he was like, Coach, I can't feel my legs. And Coach Kevin was like, all right, all right, all right. And this goes on for 4 rounds. Every time Coach tells him to do something, Calvin goes, man, Coach, I can't feel your legs. And at the end of it, Coach Kevin goes, hey, man, your legs. Do this for your kids.
Yeah.
Do this for your wife. And Calvin was like, yep. That's all I had to hear. It was a wrap after that. When I had that same thing happen to me in the fight when I couldn't see, I was telling Matt, man, something's wrong with my eye. I don't know what's wrong with my eye. He's like, man, your eye's fine. I was like, no, it's not. And Kevin was like, look, hey, do you want me to start the fight? I was like, no, Coach, I don't want you to start the fight. Okay, then what are we gonna do about it? Again, get up off that stool. I'm gonna try to kill this dude. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a split decision, lost it. I really, really felt like I didn't lose. But it was one of those things that my coach is the realest man I've ever been around in my life, and Kevin will never blow smoke up my butt, and he'll always tell me the truth like it is, man. And I value his opinion over the judges or over this or over that. There's been times when we all go through getting robbed and we all go through those things, but the mental strength that I have in boxing lets me look at that and be like, you know what? I can't wait to get back in the ring and prove that I'm a win because now all my teammates, I trained with Kenzie Morrison, his brother Trey Morrison. Kenzie, the first thing that he said after I came back, after I lost that fight, we had sparring practice not too long after the fight was over. My eye had to heal up for a few weeks, but when my eye healed up, he was like, God dang, B. He's like, man, you fight like a professional now. He's like, your punches just feel heavy. And he's like, you always had something about you, but he's like, now there's power behind your shots. And to me, the guy that's knocked out as many people as Kenzie has, that was like a really awesome compliment to me because him and Calvin both told me that after that fight, man, a loss can break you or it can form you into a fine katana. You know what I mean? And I felt like I was cutting heads off after that. So, the fight
that.
immediately after that, I got a knockout in the first round. So, the mental part of boxing, it can break you, but man, it is so amazing to be mentally tough, man. And nothing, football, walking on to the Razorbacks, nothing has ever pushed me the way that boxing pushes me. Fight camp is some of the hardest the hardest stuff that I've ever gone through in my
Yeah.
life, and I always come out on the other side a better person, a better fighter, more mentally tough, more physically tough. And man, it's just if you don't pick yourself up in the ring, you never gonna get up. Yeah, if I don't pick myself up when I fight, I'm not gonna get up in life. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's a cool thing to be able to experience that, and people do not realize what it takes. You know, like Soph said, go and hit a bag for 2 minutes and see if you can keep your hands up. You know, I can do that for 6 to 8 rounds. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? With another guy that's caliber fighting me. You know what I mean? I take pride in that, man. I worked hard for that. I worked years for that.
Yeah.
11 years I've been boxing. You know what I mean? And I can definitely say I'm one of the most lethal heavyweights that you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah, I love that.
No, so go ahead, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Bernard. You know, the question was, is it more mental or physical? Well, the thing is, it's both. But you know, one of my favorite quotes, and I'll say this from just a strategic space, and then I'll go into a little bit depth.
Okay.
From a strategic space, one of my favorite quotes is from Mike Tyson. He said, boxing is a thinking man's sport. Tough guys get hurt real bad. You know,
Yeah.
and it is just strategically. I mean, you're playing
So
chess
glad you
at
brought
the
up Mike
most
Tyson, by the way.
chess, of course, chess at the most immediate consequential level. You know what I mean? Like if you mistake, you're gonna find out pretty quick you made a mistake. You know, there's a price to pay for those mistakes, right?
Leave one of them jabs out there and watch him faint and see what happens.
Watch what happens now. Watch what happens now, man. You
Leave your
bring
hand
guard
up and
down.
get hit real quick.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you know, it's definitely from a strategic. I mean, you're playing chess in there, but it's a deadly game of chess, right? It's a violent game of chess that you're playing in there, and then just you know strategy. I mean, and just resolve, right? Resolve. I've seen fights. One that jumps out to me is Tim Bradley versus this guy. His name was Provodnikov.
Okay.
One of the craziest scenes you'll ever see in a fight. But Tim Bradley, who was known for being more of a boxer, that night said, you know what? I don't care what you do to me. I'm not going down. Like he made his mind up. And there is an exchange in that fight that, I mean, my goodness, it's one of the most violent exchanges I've seen at that level of prize fighting. To where they just said, you know what, rock'em sock'em robots, man. We're gonna hit each other in the face, and we're not gonna stop. We're gonna see who gives in, and neither of them gave in. It was very brutal, and honestly, I don't think Tim Bradley was ever truly the same after that fight. But what goes on in here manifests or materializes in a physical sense. You know, but it all starts with the mind. It all starts with the mind. And you know, again, I don't have quotes that I can read out to you, but if you ever research Mike Tyson's original trainer, Cus D'Amato, he knew that. He knew that. He was an expert at shaping and molding the minds of young men. And turning them into fighters. He was an expert at that. So it is obviously first a mental game, but it has very real, immediate physical results.
Man, I'm glad I got you both on here, like to talk about this, because now we're gonna go
I
to.
know where you're headed.
You know exactly where I'm
Why do I
going.
sense a tone of
Angriness? Yeah, sense of angriness. You knew exactly where it was going. Because man, you brought up Mike Tyson, Bernard. Man, I'm sorry, man. You know, we have this thing on here every week, man. We call, you know, Ant's Angry Takes. Man, last week, man, I had an angry take. And you see he's sweating his eyebrow right now. You see he's sweating the eyebrow. Like he like wiping it off because you know where it's coming.
It's spicy. Here we go.
All right, man. So I asked you know, who's his all-time favorite boxer and who do you think the greatest of all time is? So his all-time favorite boxer, you know, was Mike Tyson, you know. And I'm glad he said that. I told him who the greatest of all time was, and he said, nah, man, you bugging. Greatest of all time, and I'm going to say it right now. Here's my angry take. Again, angry take. Greatest of all time is Floyd Money Mayweather. And the reason why, because both of y'all said, and I'm going to tell y'all something. Y'all both said something that and I've never been in the ring. I've watched it my whole life. But watching it, and hearing what you guys have depicted about boxing and how it is mental, you know what I mean? And how things can actually change in the course of a second. Floyd Money Mayweather depicted what people were doing. He made sure if you were going left, he was going right. The best defensive boxer in the world, and that's why he is the GOAT of all time. He's the greatest. Now tell me I'm wrong. Please give me an argument. I want to hear both of y'all tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong, but okay.
You're definitely wrong. But here's the thing. First of all, it's an opinion. It's an opinion, so you're not wrong. But
subjective,
from a very educated place, I had a coach, my Coach Ronnie, would always, he opened my mind because you can make the argument that Floyd is one of the greatest. You can't make these, to me, he's not even close to being the best. But Ronnie, I said, Floyd's not even the best in his weight class ever. So how can he be the best boxer ever, right? Everybody's got their opinion, and here's the cool thing. Floyd's a lightweight, I'm a heavyweight, and I learned from watching him. Okay. Let me tell you that again. Floyd's a lightweight. He's a small guy. 140 Typically, big guys don't even blink an eye at little dudes. If you're below 165 pounds, typically big guys, we don't even really, because I'm just going to push you around the ring. When I watched Floyd fight, it was one of the most educational things that I could ever watch as an up-and-coming boxer when I was coming up. Yeah. He literally did things that even the best of boxers had to go back to the corner and have a quick conversation with their coach. He did that inside the round, and he broke people down. That was the craziest thing to me, is that he took something and he flipped it on you inside of the ring. If you look at when he fought Maidana the first time, which is probably, to me, was
one of his best fights.
But it was his most challenging. And you could make a case. I don't think Castillo, some of the other fights that were controversial. The Maidana fight, you can make a very good case that Marcos Maidana beat Floyd in that first fight. The second fight, he got absolutely destroyed.
Demolished,
If you watched the second fight and didn't know about the first one, you'd have been like, this guy's an amateur, right? How could you take someone who had gave you so much trouble in the first fight and completely turn against him in the second fight? I mean, and he did that all the time. He did that with lesser opponents inside the fight. He could be losing. You can go to Zab Judah. You can go to Castillo. You can go to so many people that he was in the ring with that he just completely turned what they were good at against them. So I do give Floyd very, very, very high props. Especially
he's not GOAT competition. He's not up there.
He's not
GOAT.
So
give me your top three.
He's in the running. Give
me your top three.
My top three are going to be Muhammad Ali, Evander Holyfield, and Sugar Ray Robinson are going to be my top three. Very easy to call those out.
Go ahead, Doso.
I mean, what a top three. I'd have to agree with you on that, man. I mean, I've always got Sugar Ray Robinson number one, just because, and I can go into that. But let me try to appease my angry Puerto Rican brother over here. Look, Floyd Mayweather, outstanding, generational talent. I mean, this dude, the record speaks for itself, although we can scrutinize that a bit if you want to get into the politics of boxing. But I won't do that because that may come off as discredit. And the last thing I would ever do is discredit a guy who dominated an era of boxing with his mind, with his skills. Skills pay the bills, man. So I would never want to discredit someone who has done nothing but, listen, the guy got in the ring. It takes a lot just to get in the ring, and not only did he get in the ring, he did it at the highest level for many years. And nobody could solve the problem that was Floyd Mayweather. So I don't want to discredit him at all. I'll say this though, your question was, is he the GOAT? Is he the greatest of all time? And I think Bernard gave the perfect 1, 2, 3 answer there for who really should be considered at that list. Because look, Floyd, and again, not in a discrediting way, I think he lost 2 fights that he got lucky to get a decision on just in his era that he dominated. The Jose Luis Castillo fight,
Yeah.
I mean, that was razor thin, man. And honestly, I could see the judges calling that either way. And Marcos Maidana, the first fight, I thought Floyd lost that fight straight up and down. I thought he lost that fight. I was surprised at the scoring, but then again, it's boxing. And so it is what it is. So, and now listen, let's look at this. I want to Jose Luis Castillo, Marcos Maidana. Your average casual boxing fan is not going to know who the hell those two guys are.
That's
But
right.
let me tell you who they are. They're not these extremely technical, lightning fast guys. They're rugged guys. They're tough guys. They're guys who just gonna come for that ass. You know what I'm saying? And
Honestly,
that's
how
it.
you beat Floyd.
That's
Yeah.
how you beat.
That's how you
'Cause
beat him.
You're not gonna beat
But
the
that's the
chess
one
master
thing, though. But
playing
that's the one
chess.
thing, though. But no, so Bernard. But here's the thing, though. Here's the crazy thing that I've realized, though. You try to bring that to him, he realized that after the first time with Madonna, when he actually did that with when he should have lost that first time, and you're totally right, should have lost that. But I think he realized mentally. Again, here we go back to mental. That's why I brought that up, because y'all are talking about how it is mental. It is a mental game.
Yes.
Mentally, Floyd played a mental game with every boxer he fought.
Right. No doubt.
For sure.
And Bernard, you said you know, as you were rising up, no, so you said when you were watching, you realized, hey man, this guy's a generational talent. He really is. But to see what he's done, that's like arguing if LeBron is better than, Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Two different eras of boxing.
Sure.
If we're looking at what Floyd has done in a defensive manner mentally, the guy's the greatest of all time, man.
I mean,
There's
look,
just so many. There's so many guys. I'm sorry, so I didn't mean to cut you
Go
off.
ahead.
There's
Because I'm
just so
surprised y'all
many
didn't
guys.
even mention De La Hoya. But, we're not going to get on there,
Again, I mean that's another guy that was on his way out when Floyd was coming up who passed the torch to him. But there's so many, man. There's so many guys that you can name. You have to say that Floyd is better than Hagler. He's better than Hearns. He's better than Hands of Stone. He's better than Pernell Whitaker. He's better. There's so many guys that you can throw in there that you can make a great argument. Bernard Hopkins, James Toney. There's so many guys that you can put up against Floyd, and you can make the argument. The argument is starting to come up about Terrence Crawford versus Floyd Mayweather right now. You know what I mean? You don't hear that with Muhammad Ali. You don't hear that with, you'll probably hear it with Evander. That's my personal favorite. I model myself after Evander. But you don't hear that with Sugar Ray. Yeah, you don't hear that with Sugar Ray Robinson. There's a lot of guys that fought heavyweight that you could compare to Evander. But Ali, man, come on. There's no way that Floyd's a better boxer or person than Muhammad Ali. That's why he is called the greatest, because of the things he did in the ring and outside the ring. This man had his prime taken away from him, and he still came back and destroyed I'm drawing a blank right now.
Foreman.
George Foreman.
Yeah.
I can't believe I just drew a blank on that. I'm a horrible boxer. But for him to come back and destroy the boogeyman the way that he did and be past his prime and still be able to do that, man, I cannot give that to Floyd. In our generation, it's probably not close. It's probably not close. Floyd is, in our generation, probably the best boxer that we saw.
Look, I really do respect both y'all answers, and I hope you guys respect mine. You know what I mean? On my opinion, you know what I mean? We all grew up in different. I don't know how old you are, Bernard. No, so I don't know how old you are. I mean, with the looks you got, man, and I don't know how that top over there, man, is still staying up, because you see how mine is, man. I got a little cone shape up here. But I got to give you jokes, so. But man, look, man, I just gotta ask y'all, man, like, what got y'all into boxing? That's what I want to know. What got y'all into boxing? I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll go ahead and say, man. I mean, for me, it's actually some of my just earliest like childhood memories were around boxing, and I just remember being. I mean, I'm talking young, like a little like child.
Really?
Like I just remember family, good vibes, people that I love, that love me, coming together. And we were all watching this thing called a TV. And on that TV were two guys swinging them hands, man.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I mean, at a extremely young age, at a very young age, I remember being fascinated, just completely locked in. And remember, it's reinforced with this family around me and things like that. Um, and I just remember looking at it, and I don't want to say understanding it because there's so much depth in what boxing is,
right.
but getting the sense of what was going on. And I was obsessed with it just again since very very early on, and I've just followed it. I mean, I remember, man, being a little kid and going to a party with the family. And I remember my grandfather and his crew. They used to have a hangout place, and they'd have big dances and have concerts and all these things there for everybody to come through. And I remember telling my grandma, man, grandma, can I go back to the office? There's a fight on tonight. I want to see who wins. And so I'd go back there. They let me into the office. I turn on HBO. God, man, I miss HBO. Turn on HBO, and I'm watching, the fights. And oh man, okay, let's see who get it. I just, and my grandfather, who was just one of the biggest influences in my life, was a very, very, very passionate boxing fan. And that's what influenced. That's what got my attention on it. And once my attention was on it, I never let go. And again, I could go on and on and on why I love boxing. Again, just the depth of it, the truth of it. It's crazy because boxing is two things at once. It's the most corrupt sport there is, and it's also the most honest. It's
Wow.
That's the bar right there, man.
Hey man, it really is.
You're rapping though, so.
Man, oh man, hey man, don't get me started.
So I want to visit something that you talked about, and again, I'm with you. It's one of the same things I love about boxing. When you get good boxing, it brings together. I can remember the same thing, same kind of. And me and you were around that same age, but I remember sitting down with uncles and aunts, and man, my mom and my aunts didn't care about boxing. They were just happy to be around dad and all the guys, right? But they would bring it. Good boxing brings together families and friends and the whole thing there. But you know what? One of the other things that it did was it would bring the. I remember the state pride I had. Now you know me, y'all know, man. How I feel about the state of Arkansas and what it means for me. So I'm gonna step into the realm when Jermaine Taylor was at the top of the game, right? And so there was just a pride and a just my ability to get behind Jermaine Taylor, and even after it was kind of going down for him, and he fought Pavlik, and Kelly Pavlik beat him, and I want to say, I think he beat Bernard Hopkins, or something like that.
Yeah, Bernard's number.
Yeah. So, but it was one of those things, and then they fought again. But just that pride, and I'll never forget it. Ever forget it. I'm over here at some of my high school friends' house, and we hear and the new, and they announced Jermaine Taylor's name as the champ, and my heart was just full. And that's some of the stuff that boxing does for you. It brings together, even in recent years, right? You look at when Tyson sparred basically with what was that, Roy Jones, or but just having him back on the tube, having those guys around, man, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it brings people together in ways that not a lot of other sports do. We love different sports. We talk about all the sports on the Fanatic Sport podcast, but just the sweet science, man. The work that goes into it, like the depths of it, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
it is, man, and it's one of those things. And Bernard, I'll let you respond to what got you into the sport here in a second. But it's one of those things. I remember, I think it may have even been Dana White the UFC president. And listen, let me clarify. I'm a boxing guy. I don't watch MMA. I don't keep up with MMA. I have nothing but respect for it because that's combat. These guys are putting their lives on the line too.
Oh yeah.
But there's something about being a stand-up guy that has always stood up to,
Right.
stood the test of time in my mind. I mean, I come from an era where if you guys got in a fight at school and you started wrestling around, it was going to separate you and say, fight for real. So that's
Yeah.
that's the era I come up in. I know it's very different now. Excuse me, get off my lawn, but I'm just saying, I'm just that's where the era that I come from, and I've always looked at boxing as a proper fight. But like I said, Bernard, I'll let you respond here in a second. But Dana White, I remember a quote. He said, "Picture this. There's the world, the four corners of the world. In one corner, they're playing football. The other corner, they're playing baseball. The other corner, they're playing soccer or basketball. But in the other corner, a fight breaks out. Where does everybody's attention go? To the fight. That's right. Again, it's a sport, not a game. Just one time for the sweet science, baby. Bernard, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I love that. See, man, this is why I like No Soul, man. This dude is one of the most amazing announcers, and he's got great stories that he has, man. It's so cool. But man, it's really cool hearing you guys say what got you into boxing because it makes a lot of things flood back for me. It was really cool. I will never forget how cool it was to watch JT walk out in those Razorback shorts, man. It was one of the most electrifying things to watch him walk out and us calling the Hogs at home in Texas and everybody looking at us like, man, what is going on? But the family knows, I was born in Arkansas, but I grew up in Texas.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny. My whole life I got called, Arkansas country, Arkansas boy. And I came back up here for school and I got called a Texan. It makes me so angry. But so what got me into boxing, man, is that, it was something that we watched when I was a kid. There's nothing that brings people together like boxing, man. Even people that, you could not like somebody, but man, if it's a boxing match on, you'll sit on the other side of the room and watch that match. Not to mention all the people that like each other, that the camaraderie, the food, the family, everything that goes into watching a boxing match. It's a thing. You got to buy the pay-per-view. You got to get the snacks. You got to get this. You got to get that. Everybody's got to come, with this or with that, man. And it's just a wonderful time to sit around and watch boxing. You can watch guys you don't even know their names. And it could be something that, hey, a legend is built right here.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I watched Tank Davis, and he was fighting Pedraza. I'll never forget that fight. It was the first time that I watched Tank, and I was like, this dude is phenomenal. He is going to be great. And, he is.
You were not wrong.
Yeah. So I got started boxing because one of my neighbors was a competitor in Golden Gloves. He had fought in a couple Golden Gloves tournaments. And a lot of people back in, when I was in high school, a lot of NFL players were either doing ballet or they were boxing to get their hands and their feet better, their reaction time better. Didn't have access to ballet. Even if I had access to ballet, probably wouldn't have done it. But I did have access to this boxer that was down the street. That was my brother's friend. His name was Mike Bordeaux. And I remember going to Mike and being like, Mike, man, you think you could teach me how to box? I also was dealing with guys at school messing with me. And I had been in a couple fights. And I'm smart enough to know that when I was in those fights, I came out on top of the fights. But I was like, what if somebody's better than me at what I'm doing? And I don't really know what I'm doing when I'm in there fighting. And so it would be nice to get some boxing acumen behind me, so when somebody walks by the street, I'm good. And from there is when it started. I balled out my senior year. I got in the best shape of my life boxing. Boxing has literally saved my life from a health aspect as well as, I didn't want to be out there doing stupid stuff with all the fake thugs and things because I was like, man, I got to go to boxing practice. I got to go to football practice. Sports kind of kept me away from all that. And it was an excuse that I had, but it was a lovely excuse.
Yeah.
And so, it's so crazy. My mom would tell me, my granddad would get the family and everybody would be around the radio listening to Muhammad Ali. And I'm not alive at this point. I haven't been born yet.
Sure.
But it's so cool to know that was in my family like that. And I remember my mom always could not stand me boxing. She was always, moms never liked their sons or their daughters getting into boxing. But I never forget the moment that my mom switched over. And she was like, she's always supported me. But I remember I was going to Golden Gloves, man, and I was so tore up inside, and I was praying. And I was like, man, I'm tired of going to this tournament and losing and not coming out on top. And I feel like I got this and I got that. And I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, I'm going to Golden Gloves. I'm in the car with my teammates and my coach, and we're going down. And I said, Mom, I'm nervous. I'm going down to this tournament. I'm tired of losing it every year. And my mom is so funny because she's always like, why you want to box? You're so handsome and talented, all these other things. Why you want to box? And that same woman said, "Oh, son, you know what they said? Mama said, knock him out." I said, "Let's go, Mama. I got you."
Mama said,
hey, and I went down, and I won my first Golden Glove championship. You know what I'm saying?
Up,
and it was, man, boxing is the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. And I always tell the kids that want to get involved with it that you are going to have the hardest time that you have ever done doing anything mentally, physically, spiritually. This is going to push you to the brink. It's going to make you question, do I really want to do this? And you're either going to say yes or you're going to say no, and I'm good at math. You know what I mean? So at the same time, there is nothing, I guarantee you, there is nothing in this world like having your hand raised and the new Arkansas State Golden Glove champion.
Yeah.
Man, dude, nothing compares. Nothing compares to that. When I win, it's my fault. When I lose, it's my fault. And I am in complete control of that destiny and what I'm going to have. And, we talk about it being mental, and it's like you can get hit in the face and go, man, that hurt. Or you can go like, man, I'm not going to let him hit me again. You can be in a fight and you can be like, oh, man, I'm tired. And your body will shut down. It'll follow your mind after that. Or you can go, man, I'm tired, but I'm in shape. He's tired too. And it's a completely different outcome. I've been in both situations before. It's a completely different outcome how that comes out, man. And so getting involved in boxing, man, it gave a kid who I felt like I didn't have a big voice when I wanted to have a voice. I felt like I got over-talked by people. It gave me a chance to go show I do have the ability to be a champion. I didn't get hidden with 10 other football players on the field. I'm working my butt off, but 4 of the guys are slacking, 3 of them are kind of half-assing it, and 2 of us are out there giving it everything that we got. If I give it everything that I got, I'm gonna get rewarded for it, and I'm gonna get what I want out of it. Most of the time to a certain extent, but I'm gonna get what I put into the sport. And that was one of the things that got me into boxing. And it was just like when I found that out, it's like, man, you telling me if I work hard, I'm gonna reap the benefits of that?
Yeah.
Sign me up. I don't have a problem working hard. I don't have a problem going to the gym, killing myself 2 hours, 3 hours a day, 2 times a day. I don't have a problem with that because I know at the end of that road that I'm working harder than my opponent. You know what I'm saying?
You get to see it.
Yeah,
that's dope.
It's instant gratification.
That's phenomenal, man. Just to hear both y'all talk about it, man. Like, just like to hear both y'all talk about, like, where you guys, come from and understanding, what it meant to y'all growing up. I remember growing up. Go ahead, so what was you gonna say?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I remember growing up, and this is why I bring up Oscar De La Hoya a lot, and the reason why I like Oscar so much.
That's interesting. You being the Puerto Rican and all.
Yeah, right. Well,
the Puerto Rican Mexican rivalry goes
I
deep,
remember.
boy.
I remember. I remember the day. To this day, man, I was 12 years old, June 7th, 1996. Man, Oscar De La Hoya versus Julio Chavez. It was a great fight. It was a TKO. Let's just put it this way. But I had no idea what was going on. I'm asking my brother, hey, why is he hitting him like this? Like, he's trying to explain it to me. Like, I had no idea what boxing was, because to me it was just back in the, in New York, it's basketball or it's basically basketball or baseball. Those are the 2 sports, or hockey. 3 sports you're getting in New York City. Those are the 3 sports you get. Yeah. All right. If it ain't the Yankees, it's the Mets. If it ain't the Jets, it's the Giants. It really wasn't that thing. My brother had this boxing match on. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. This is not intriguing, but why is he hitting him like this? Why is he not moving? Why is he doing this? Like, what's going on? Why is he in the corner? And he's like, man, he's explaining it to me. And I finally understood what boxing was. It's like, oh man, I actually like this, man. I actually have to deal with this being bullied my whole life. I understood what being a defensive individual was. I understood, hey man, let's get in this corner. We're gonna move over here. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. My brother was explaining this to me, explaining boxing to me for the first time. So that was my love of it, man. So just to hear you guys' story, man, is so incredible to me. Thank you so much for sharing that to me, man.
Man, well, and again, right, golly, man, I could go on and on about this because my love for boxing, again, because I very early on was introduced to it and I started understanding it, and the more I learned about it, I was like, oh yeah, again, I keep repeating myself, it's a sport, not a game, and it's one of those things to where, I mean, dude, if you know me, if you had conversations with me, dude, I use boxing metaphors for life all the time. But there's a reason for that, right? How many times, you talk to somebody, man, hey man, how you doing? Oh man, I'm just fighting a fight. Right?
Yep.
Like that's like at a root of who we are, right? Hey man, I'm just glad to still be in a fight, or man, things been tough, man. Got my back against the ropes. It's like, hey man, I mean, boxing is so real. It's so real. And that's why I like Bernard. He was talking about, again, the pure side of what boxing is. Again, there's a corrupt side to it, but that's politics, that's business. Yeah. The sport at its root level is about as pure as it gets. It's so much so, if you indulge me for just a quick second, like there are a couple things that relating, how is boxing the realest sport? How is it so real? How's it so relatable? Well, in life, I think there are some ultimate truths, right? And matter of fact, I don't know if you can see it behind me. I think like right here is a balance, scales of balance.
Yeah.
And then I don't think you can see it. I also have an hourglass back there. Okay. And what that represents for me are just two truths that I believe in life. One, timing, the hourglass, timing is everything. Oh, yeah. They say, because you could meet your soulmate and it not work out if you guys met at the wrong time. Right. You could get that dream job, but if you weren't ready for it, if it was the wrong time, you're going to lose that job. It's not going to work out for you. Yeah. Timing makes the difference of everything. And as it compares to boxing, listen, man, they say two guys fight. The man with the power, he's going to win. The man with the speed could beat the man with power. But it's the man who has timing, those skills. The man who has timing can beat them all. Okay? And hey, come on, so timing is everything. Again, and not just in boxing, but in life, in timing is everything. And balance is key. The common, for sure, a common denominator that me and Bernard spoke about here today, who's the GOAT? I always hold Sugar Ray Robinson greatest of all time. You'd have to look up his record. It's ridiculous. And the era that he fought in was absolute madness. And that's where my big argument against Floyd Mayweather comes in. Could he have ever kept up with a schedule like that with nothing but savages? I just don't see it, right? But back to the moral of the story here, what I'm saying. Balance is key. Sugar Ray Robinson, he had a base. He was actually a professional dancer. He was a performer. And what that does, it gives you ultimate balance. He was in complete control of his body. It didn't matter where he was at, if he was on the back foot or the front foot. It didn't matter if he was going backwards, going forwards, going left, going right. He had the ultimate control of his body because of his balance, because of his background as a dancer. And so what does that do? That means he can hurt you no matter what position he's in, no matter what hand he's going to throw at you. It could be a straight, it can be a straight right, it can be a jab, it can be a hook to the body or a hook to the head with either hand. It didn't matter. He was going to maximize his output. I mean, that's why go look at his highlights. He's knocked somebody out with every single punch there is. And it's because of his balance. And so again, right, these are just, life truths mixed in with what boxing actually is. And again, I think it's just it's a way to showcase whose truth is stronger on the night. What an amazing sport boxing is.
That's poetic.
Yeah, like wow. Like, yeah, go ahead, go Bernard, let's do it.
I was just
yeah.
Hey, I don't give people a lot of props when it comes to boxing because a lot of people are full of horse pucky. But Noel is one of the rare people that I feel really encapsulates what makes boxing. He gets it. You know what I mean? As a fighter, I can tell you that he gets it because there are so many things that people I got that dog in me, or it's grind time, or they say all these things, man, and you say them, but you don't really know what they mean.
Right.
Calvin always makes me laugh because he always says funny stuff in the gym, but we all adopt these sayings that Coach Kevin comes up with, and these sayings that Calvin says is that, man, everybody wants to be a champion, and nobody wants to train like one. You know what I mean? I
Wow.
kid you not. I kid you not. I see it every week in the gym. People, especially when there's like a Jake Paul fight, man, I want to fight Jake Paul. Hey, don't get it twisted. I'll tell you right now, Jake takes boxing very seriously.
Very seriously.
He may not be a great person. He may do some stupid stuff to get views. I don't know. He's very affluent. Most of the time, people who are affluent don't make good boxers because they don't have struggle in their life. He is taken care of to a large extent in boxing. He has yet to fight a real boxer. When he did fight a boxer in Tommy Fury, he did lose the match. But he takes his training very seriously. And I got people coming to the gym and say, man, I want to be the guy to beat Jake Paul. Well, how many followers do you have on Instagram?
Right.
Because we shouldn't even be having that conversation unless you got millions of people following you on Instagram. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, can you make it through an hour training with us? Not even a fight camp hour. Can you make it through a normal boxing class at Straight Right Boxing and Fitness? And the answer is no. When you come to the gym, it's gonna kick your butt. It's gonna kill you. You're gonna work up to it. But I have to tell people off the jump, I was like, you're delusional. You have a view of a fan. Fans think that this happens or that happens. I'm gonna show you. It's not gonna take me more than 2 minutes to show you how far away your knowledge is from what's really going on in that ring. And I kid you not, it takes less than 2 minutes to tell somebody to throw your left hand. Don't throw your right one. Just throw your left at that heavy bag that's not punching you back, that does nothing but sit there and watch you throw at it. Can you do that for more than 30 seconds? And the answer is no. I've seen NFL athletes, I've seen NBA guys, I've seen NHL, I've seen MLB, all the acronyms. I've seen those guys come into our gym and they all leave the same way. They leave out crawling. I make millions of dollars, not me. This is what they say. I make millions of dollars and I've never done anything that hard in my life, right?
Wow.
It's one class. Imagine what it takes to be a professional boxer. Imagine what it takes to be an amateur boxer. You know what I mean? It's crazy that people walk into the gym and they have these things, but it's cool because I got job security. Because I'm always gonna be able to teach somebody that you're not as bad as you think you are. This is not as easy as it looks on television.
Absolutely. Listen, I had no delusions about it. Again, because I do respect the sport so
very
much.
humble when he came to the gym.
Hey, let me tell you something, man. I went to the gym, and I hate that we got to refilm this due to some audio stuff, but we went in there, man. We did a little segment because we're getting ready to launch our big wellness program, and obviously, wellness encapsulates a lot of different things and can look a lot of different ways, and that's one thing that the guys at Straight Right.
Wellness Wednesday.
It is Wednesday too, boy. That means I'm going to get my butt to the gym today. But that's one thing. By the way, props, man, on how Straight Right does help so many people with wellness. And again, there's levels. Again, why I love boxing so much. It's not just exercise. You're not just exercising your body. You're exercising your mind and your spirit in there, man. I mean, it really is something. And you guys do an outstanding 10 out of 10 job at Straight Right Boxing.
Thank you.
But man, I went in there. Calvin, was so gracious to donate some time, and he's been gracious to agree to do it again too. We went in there and we filmed a segment, and he put me through basically like a warm up. And brother, let me tell you what, I was about to puke. I was about to blow chunks all over the gym, man. I remember getting through, and it wasn't even necessarily the exercises themselves. It was the pace. Like, I remember he got me there doing, I said, whew. okay. He's like, no, what you sitting around for? Come on, next one. We doing this. I
Yeah,
said, what do you mean?
yeah,
He said, ain't no
yeah.
breaks, ain't no
Ain't no
water.
breaks.
I'm like, what do you mean? I gotta breathe. Like I'm about to die, man. And I mean, I'm so grateful, man, that they didn't catch me throwing up on camera, man. But it was. I mean, hey, it ain't no joke, man. Again, shout out to the all the champions of the the heavyweight champions of the futon, man. Like y'all
Woo!
y'all got keep enjoying from afar because trust me, man, we don't want all them problems in that ring for real, man.
Okay,
I
so
can't deal with
so
people seeing red, man. I
That's
can't do
right.
it.
so let me jump in and say this. So first and foremost, because this is very very real. So I was up at 5 a.m. this morning, and I should not have been. So we'll start there. I should not have been up at 5 a.m., but I was. And so I see a message that I sent to Bernard that had been read 35 minutes before that. And so, so first of all, let me tell you, this man is for real. It's serious. But you talk about the fitness and the wellness and the mind training. So Bernard, get in here. I got the logo up, man. Get in here and talk for a little bit about not only the training that you're doing with the up and coming boxers, but just in general. I know you guys work with a lot of different organizations and a lot of different age groups as
Mm-hmm.
far as training them the boxing training and what it
Mm-hmm.
does for you.
Man, boxing does a lot of things for a lot of different people, man. It's translatable to everything that you're gonna do in life, but not much translates to boxing. Believe it or not, the two sports that I would say are closest would be track and wrestling.
Okay.
But even those sports, you're not getting punched in the face, so you got to put that on top of it. But so as far as the training and the health and the wellness part of it, man, you don't when you come to our gym you may not necessarily want to spar. It's the funniest thing in the world that when people come in, we're like, hey, we're not gonna push you to spar. We're not gonna ask you to spar. No, man, thanks. I just want to be here for the fitness.
Okay.
We train that person for a week, max 2 weeks, and they're asking us, well, how long you think it'll be before I get in the ring? I thought you didn't want to get in the ring. I thought you just wanted to come train, but we do such an amazing job, and I get to toot our horn because Coach Kevin, I was a client before I was a coach at
Okay.
Straight Right. I was a participant before I was a coach, and it's just the way that Coach's system is and the way that he teaches things. It helps people with Parkinson's disease. I've helped students that have autism, dealing with different things, ADHD, all the crazy things, dementia, a lot of things that go and affect the brain. Boxing and helps it so well because of the memory, the cognitive engagement that you have, the physical engagement that you have. Of course, we're working on strength and we're working on the usual things that you would pick up on boxing, but you don't know
Okay.
how much it challenges your brain to do things. I see people that come in with Parkinson's disease that have tremors where they're shaking like this, and when we're boxing they can hold their hand like this and it's not shaking. And
Wow.
that's a lot of engaging people physically and getting them to do movements that their body doesn't have to think about. Like when you see
It's
somebody ride a
incredible.
bike, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's amazing. When you see somebody ride a bike, a person with Parkinson's disease can barely stand, but if you put them on a bike, they can ride a bike, because it's a motor function that they don't have to think about, right? If you have to think about it, then it starts to affect them negatively. I'll never forget Miss Dina Para, who came to the gym. Dina has kicked cancer's ass so many times,
That's beautiful.
leukemia so many times. She is a real life warrior. She came to box,
That's
never
dope.
boxed before. She is basically a pacifist. I mean, she has animals, and she would never lift a finger to hurt anybody, man. But she got in there, and she's one of the best boxers that I've
Period.
ever coached in my life, man. And
Yeah.
she had tremors. And I remember, I think it was 2 weeks into our training program when we first started our Parkinson's boxing program 7 years ago. I was wrapping her hands, and she was like, "Bernard, look at my hand." And I was looking for like a bruise or a mark or something on her hand. I was like, "Dina, what am I looking for?" She's like, "Bernard, I'm not shaking." Man, I almost broke down in tears when that happened.
Yeah.
I
That's
said,
beautiful.
"You've had Parkinson's, for years, for decades, and you working out 2 weeks in boxing made your tremors go away. She's like, she smoked weed. She's done all these things that some things help, but nothing made it go away. And for her to lose her tremors for years after that because she comes to our class, man, it's crazy. I've got kids that get bullied at school. And I tell kids all the time, and I tell them in front of their parents, you are learning a martial art, and you're learning, maybe you don't consider it a martial art, but you are learning to defend yourself. And if somebody walks up on you, make sure that they don't walk up on you again. Now, here's the thing. You're going to get suspended. You're going to get in trouble. But the next time that somebody thinks about stepping to you, they're going to remember you putting your hands on that person that stepped to you last time. Right? Deal with the consequences. Know the consequences before you get into it. And, man, kids come up and thank us all the time. Coach, man, you changed my life. It's crazy to me, man. People have come in suicidal to the gym, and we don't know that. I'm just doing my job.
Right.
They come in and they're dealing with suicide, and I've had more people than I can count pull me to the side and say, Coach, man, I was gonna kill myself last week.
Wow.
And because you guys smiled at me when I walked in, because you guys took the time to teach me something that you didn't have to teach me, I didn't kill myself. Man, when I tell you that God put me in this position and I didn't know I was going to be here, it's not just the fight. I love the fighting aspect.
Amazing,
I love being, dude,
that's
it's crazy,
amazing.
man. It's crazy. And so
that's a blessing, man, to have that gift, though, man. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, that's got to be amazing to you and your whole team. To be able to actually have that when they come in, when those kids come in, those people come in, you don't know all walks of life coming in through those doors. You don't know what they're going through.
Nope.
You have no idea until they pull you to the side and you're like, wow, okay, well, thank you. And that gives that has to give you some boost. You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, what we're doing is we doing something here. Like this, that's incredible, man. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. I never knew. I'm sorry, cut you off. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna ask y'all, man. Like, with that being said, like, what's next for Straight Right Boxing, and what you guys got going on? What's coming up? Like, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, of course, man. We're opening our third location in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is going to be amazing. We've got the original location in Little Rock, ran by Coach Anthony Tucker. We've got the Springdale location that's been being ran by Coach Kevin, our founder, and myself and Calvin. And we're opening Fayetteville sometime next month. Fayetteville will be open. We're remodeling right now. We're almost done, man. We're putting the carpet down. We're gonna get the equipment in there. That's the biggest thing that's coming up. We got the Tamale Festival this weekend with Medina's Tri-Tip. Man, they have been awesome. They asked us to come on and do a Gym Wars outdoors this weekend on Saturday at 6 p.m. at the Tamale Festival in Lowell. Man, it's a beautiful thing to be involved in the community the way we're involved in the community. We've been asked to apply to be an after-school program for kids, which we already do that. But hopefully the state can get behind us and get involved with that too. But we got asked by our client to do that. We've got a show coming up October 11th in Little Rock. Calvin returns to the ring back at home in Little Rock, Arkansas at Boxing Home.
That's dope.
Man, it's a lot on the horizon right now. And
so are you saying we're gonna get No-So announcing a boxing match October 11th?
Yeah, we're gonna get No-So, man. The crazy thing is that Noel was supposed to announce for us in Springdale, man, and he got so sick. And we were all so heartbroken because I know Sosa's passion. It wasn't it's not a cop out. I mean, he was sick.
Yeah, it was bad.
You know what I mean? And so, we got it taken care of, man. But that's been one of the coolest things that Sosa has announced. There's some fights that I've been at. He's done some announcing for Calvin and, some other shows we've been in with Hunger and Action. Shout out to Hunger and Action in Springdale too. But yeah, for sure, Noel is always the first person I'm going to call when it comes to announcing.
I look forward to that. Hey, man, I actually might actually. I'm definitely gonna have to take a trip down there, man. It's only an hour and a half, 2 hours away from me, man. Definitely gonna have to come down and come check it out, man.
I definitely
Calvin coming
back.
Got
some good flights to Little Rock, so we good.
all I'm saying is thank you for both of y'all being here, man, and actually being able to do this. Take the time out, man. I know we probably took longer than what we thought we was gonna say. But when it comes to boxing, Look, Bloka, I ain't gonna lie, man. When it comes to boxing, we need to just bring these two back on the show and just let them just talk.
Without a
Man,
doubt.
this is great conversation.
I'm available, man. Always available for you guys.
No, so you know,
Really
I asked Bernard what was next, man. What's next for you, man? What you got coming up, man? What's going on with you, and what you got plans, and what's coming up with you know, the radio station and all that?
Well, you know, man, we got a lot going on as far as the radio goes too. But since we're on the subject, it would be, you know, foolish of me not to take advantage of the opportunity to plug, you know, Fair Ones and Fairways, which is my podcast that covers the sport of boxing. You know, it's Fair Ones and Fairways. And Bernard, I don't know if we've ever had a chance to talk about this because I heard you mention track and wrestling. You understand how much I appreciate the sport of boxing. I have found something very unexpected and unusual through the sport of golf. Believe it or not, it asks a lot of the same questions that boxing does. It's very interesting. Something I didn't expect. Matter of fact, when I was a young man, my father, my dad, my best friend, my dad, we've got a tremendous relationship to this day. Still, you know, blessed to still have him. He would tell me, son, if you're gonna be in business, that's a game you need to learn. And I remember telling him, Dad, nobody gives a fuck about golf. That's the dumbest. That's the most boring. Like, who cares about that? And again, no representation to speak of. So I'm like, man, that ain't for me, man. Like, you know, I'm gonna get on the block, you know, try to get a Cadillac. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, I didn't understand it. It wasn't a language that I understood, but I wish I had listened to my father, man. And I say that about a lot of things. But golf, it's interesting. There's a lot of parallels and similarities between golf and boxing. You wouldn't think that on the surface, right? But, you know, when you get in the ring, you have a plan, right? You have a plan. You think you know what you want to do, but all of a sudden you get hit. Oh, shit. You know, all of a sudden what you thought was going to work isn't going to work. Well, when you get out to the course, I'm going to knock it down the middle.
Same thing.
And then all of a sudden you hook it into the trees.
Oh,
or
my God.
You slice it into the water, you know, and it's like, damn, well, it didn't go the way I thought. Okay, what do I got to do? I got to pick myself up. Yep. You know, I got to try to get this thing up and down. I got to try to save par, which, you know, I got to get, you know, I got to minimize the damage. And in the next round, I need to try to do a little bit better. I got to try to execute a game plan. Maybe I got to adjust. You know, maybe what I thought was going to work ain't going to work. Maybe for some reason today, and they, you know, Jack Nicklaus, he talks about swing du jour. Your swing is a little bit different every day. Just depends on where you're at that day. So all of a sudden, now that it's going a little bit this way, I'm going to start aiming this way so we can get where I needed to go. Sometimes, you know, I'm trying to be in the fairway, but I ended up in the rough. When things get rough, what do? You got to work your way out of there, right? Sometimes you fall into a trap. You know, if you get stuck in a trap, what do you got to do? You got to dig your way out because you can still get to the green, baby. You can still get to the goal. And listen, man, there is a lot of parallels, and so that, you know, I don't know golf like I know boxing. Like I can say, man, I've studied enough and followed it my whole life that I feel like I've got a great understanding, as much as an observer can, because I've never competed officially in that, and I'm too goddamn old to do it now. But I've got a great appreciation, if you will, and understanding for boxing, and it's something I can talk about with confidence and authority because I know what I'm talking about here, right? I can't do that with golf, but I have learned something about golf that when I created the brand Fair Ones and Fairways, I wanted to include it. I couldn't let it go. And we're going to do some very unique things with the brand that are going to incorporate the two things. Because here's the other thing about golf. It's something that a lot of athletes in general, but yes, boxers as well, do as a hobby, as a release. So there is a connection there. And especially in retirement, one of my all-time favorite fighters of the modern era is Miguel Cotto. And Puerto Rican, right? Puerto Rican Miguel Cotto, and I love the definition of what it is to be a professional prize fighter. Miguel Cotto, always on weight, always shows up in shape, always was focused, always gave it everything he had, put on great performance. Win, lose, or draw didn't matter. Miguel Cotto was showing up. He was a professional prize fighter. That is what he's the definition of what it means to be a pro. All he does is play golf now. I love it. I love seeing these guys be able to satisfy that competitive edge, because what's the difference? Well, in golf, you don't got to get punched in the face. Nobody's beating
that's good.
you.
That's
You
very
know,
good.
yeah, so it's a gentleman's game, right? So I think there are some great parallels there. Bernard, we're gonna have to get you out in the course so we can talk about that a little bit one time. But fair ones and fairways, man. What we know is boxing. But what we can get away with is playing golf, right? So it's a beautiful thing. It's a very unique brand. It's an interweaving of two niche sports, if you will, kind of coming together, which creates something which is one of one, which we're very proud of. Incorporating those two entities, those two sports. But man, if trust us, we'll follow the sport of boxing. We'll give you all the boxing news and updates. Matter of fact, tomorrow we're recording our new episode to talk about the upcoming. We got 2 big weekends of fights coming up. This weekend we've got Canelo Berlanga with a decent undercard, and then next weekend it's Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois, and then a super card for the UK. Two big heavyweights. So we cover all the boxing action, and we trickle a little bit of golf in there. And I'll just one more little stat. I did pick this year's U.S. Open winner. I won a bunch of money. You may want to listen. I'm just saying, it's hard to pick those things. And
Congrats.
Check the receipts. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Look, I just want to say to you guys, Noel Sosa, Bernard Oliver, man, it has been an absolute pleasure to actually talk about the sport that you both love. Talk about the sport you, Big Smooth, you've evolved from, not only as an athlete but as a human being, and what you do for the community. Noel Sosa, what you do for the community, man. We definitely really appreciate it. I honestly, wow, like this is probably this this is up there in episodes,
amazing,
man.
It's been amazing, man. It's been absolutely amazing.
Thanks,
so look, man, I can't say thank y'all enough, man. I reached out to y'all, and it's always an honor. Like we started with from the beginning, though. So as we do this, man, I don't think about it, and I probably won't grasp what's happened until later on as we get down the road. But I feel like the small time, and you guys, both of y'all come in and treat me like we're big time, and that means the world to me personally, and I know it does the same for Ant. So what I'm gonna do, man, we do got a couple live reads we want to throw out after this 30-minute conversation. But I do want Bernard, please, man, tell us a little bit more about what you got going with Nerd Athlete. I know you and I have talked about a lot of projects, and I know you got. I'm down the list like 4 or 5. So I know there's a lot that you got on the horizon, man. Take this time and tell us about what you got going and what you're planning up next.
So, with my pro career taking off last year, I kind of put Nerd Athlete a bit on the back burner, man, because boxing definitely took everything from me. That I had to give it everything. Me probably dialing back a little bit, being a little upset with the politics and the things going on with boxing, and making way for the younger guys. I get back to doing my movie stuff. So I've got a couple of documentaries that I'm working on right now that pray and find the time to finish. One really interesting one is about a guy who felt like a demon was following him his whole life, and it finally let him go a couple of years ago. And, he just stayed down with God. And, even if you don't believe in that type of stuff, I think it's a very interesting story. I'm obviously believe in that kind of thing, but I think it's going to be a very interesting story to tell. I've got some scripts written for some things, but that takes time. But definitely that documentary and, anything and everything that is entertainment and boxing and movies, I'm always trying to encapsulate that with Nerd Athlete. And that's why I started my company. I always told people when I started my company that I was going to merge boxing and journalism some sort of way. And it ended up being film. So I'm always, I work with the Michaud Film Lab and Award. It's a BIPOC award that we give to filmmakers up and coming that need those funds and that help to get out of the situation that they may be in and get to be a big filmmaker. So shout out to Dr. Eric Hughes and his wife, Dr. Sinitra Hughes, for doing the great things that they do at Michaud Film Lab and Award. Really, really looking to be involved heavily in the film industry in Arkansas, man. It's blowing up here. A big shout out to Brandon Goldsmith in Fort Smith, the Fort Smith International Film Award and Film Showcase. Man, he has done some incredible stuff down in Fort Smith in bringing international attention. Which actually, I got a distribution deal out of being in that film festival with Porter Craig out in L.A. Man, and so Lost in the Sauce is going to be a feature film. One of these days, it won't be a short anymore. It'll be a feature film. But that's the stuff I got coming up with Nerd Athlete. We already kind of talked about.
Where can everybody follow you at, man, and learn more information?
Yeah, at Sniper Smooth. That's SMOOVE on Instagram. Always, man, hit me up. I always tell the students and the kids and everything, man, hit me up on Instagram. It's the easiest way to get to me, man. I promise I'm gonna get to you. I'm always coaching. But that's the best way to get to me, man. I mean, you can probably try to hit me up on Facebook. I'm probably not going to get to it. But if you hit me up on Instagram, I'm definitely going to get to it, and I'll see it eventually. If you're a filmmaker, if you want to get involved, if you need funds, definitely holler at me, especially if it is concerning BIPOC issues, or if you're a filmmaker about a BIPOC person or that's Black, Indigenous, person of color. Definitely looking out to help everybody. And that doesn't exclude you because you are white. It does not exclude you from that. So if you're looking for me, or you're looking to reach out to me and you want pointers, man, I love the youth. I love giving back, and I want people to reach out and ask for help. That's the biggest thing that I have to say about that.
Thank you, Bernard, man. We really appreciate that.
So look, man, let's wrap it up with this. We'll get into a talk about some of our partners. But before, man, I got to say thank you to you guys again before I let you go. It's been a blast.
This was fun. This was fun.
So we definitely going to plan to do it again real soon. Second week in a row, man, and we've had some, an outstanding boxer come on, and the passion that boxing brings in is unmatched.
No,
unmatched. And that's why, like I said, when it comes to combat sports, I think about it as the top of the top. As you said, a proper fight.
And speaking of where
right.
I need you to tell everybody where they can find you, and and what you are also bringing up to the table as well, man.
Hey, real quick, you can just find me. Look up Noel Sosa, and again, Fair Ones and Fairways. Is our podcast. We also have the Speech Check podcast that will be relaunched very soon. Matter of fact, we had Calvin on that. He's on one of the episodes that's still up there right now.
Okay.
But we're gonna relaunch that, rebrand it, repackage it, all that good stuff here in the next few months. And look, I got a lot of irons in the fire, man. Follow me, Noel Sosa, Noel Sosa 1000 on Instagram, or just look up Noel Sosa. I'm on Facebook. And Rocks Radio Group, man, we're doing some great things here with the Northwest Arkansas community here in our local market. But there's a lot of things cooking, as always. So just stay tuned, man. Some great things on the way.
Awesome, man.
Well, thank you both.
Thank y'all so much again, man. All right, so while we're doing that, man, tell us about Leticia Talamontes, man, at Astro Ford.
Wow. Well, she is an awesome person. I'm not gonna lie to you about that. If you've been thinking about upgrading your ride, well, basically you're in luck. Here's the inside scoop on the best car salesperson in town. Leticia Talamontes at Astro Ford and D'Iberville is the go-to person for all your car buying needs. Where your market for a sleek sedan or a reliable SUV when you need it, Leticia has you covered. With every friendly smile and expert knowledge, she'll give you what you need to drive off that lot in style. So why wait? Head on down to Astro Ford and ask for Leticia Talamontes. You'll be glad you did. Give her a call at 228-275-FORD. That's 228-275-373. Or stop by 10350 Automall Parkway in D'Iberville. See Leticia Talamontes at Astro Ford in D'Iberville today.
Look, man, so we're so excited for our partners that we have available to us, man. And it's a blessing to get the opportunity to work with people. Like I said, man, we're doing some very, very dope things that you don't think about, in the moment. And I'm glad I don't have to do that, man. I just get the opportunity to work with such talented people, and not just talented, but multi-talented, man. From
man, shout out to you, man. Man, just shout out to you.
Man,
you're talented.
I'm talented in talking and connecting with people, and I'm thankful that we get the opportunity to do it. And you know, so one of the cool things is that next week we get to do this same thing again, man. We're excited about Boot Hill Sports Network, who, you know, for all intents and purposes, they're doing a lot of the same things that we are planning to do, and they're doing it in Southeast Missouri. And so can't wait to talk with Marty. We also are going to get the opportunity to try out another awesome person that hopefully we can add to our staff of people that work with us on this network, my good friend Quentin Pale. And so, you know, it'll, you know, make it easier on us and have another opinion, another awesome, really person. And he's a younger guy, so it's really cool to have that young vision as well. You know, as us, you know, we're kind of the old heads here. So right. Excited to get to do that for next week, man. But thank you so much to everybody that's checking us out. And I know a lot of people.
Yeah, man. I've been sharing it throughout the whole time, man. Also, I want to give a shout out, man. Real quick, man. I gotta give a shout out to my homegirl, Couture White, man. She went out to New York City. She went ahead and she did New York Fashion Week. Courtesy of one of our good friends, Darren Sewell, sister, Sharon Shree. You know, she got her out there. So, man, big ups. And the Arkansas Stand Up. Remember that? Arkansas Stand Up. Yes. That is really dope. That's really huge, man. If you really think about it, you know, a black individual coming from Arkansas, going to New York and walking for the New York City Fashion Week is amazing. That's incredible. Shout out to you, Couture White. That is amazing.
It's awesome, man. And so you know, as we get ready to wrap this thing up, man, it's great. It's the most beautiful thing ever, bro. I had all this stuff planned, and I stayed up real late. That's not what I was saying.
Hey, man, we ain't done.
I was up at 5 doing what I was.
We ain't done yet. We got at least another. You got to give me another 30, bro. You got to give me another 30
minutes.
Another 30 minutes, man. Make it real quick. But we do got to go to break, though.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, so while we going to break, man, tell us about Angry Salsa. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to go with.
All right, man. You know, well, Angry Salsa, let's just get right to it, man. If you got your taste buds, if you definitely want your taste buds ignited by Angry Salsa, you know what I mean, this is not your ordinary salsa. It's packed with fiery flavor that will give you on the edge and get you on the edge of your seat. Whether you're cheering for your team or snacking while watching the game, Angry Salsa will add a spicy kick to your game day experience. So grab a jar of Angry Salsa and take your taste buds on an exhilarating ride. Angry Salsa, fueling the fire of flavor, becoming a happy, angry customer today, contacting me, your very own owner, so you could be a happy, angry customer. My name is Anthony Roman. I am also known as the Angry Puerto Rican. I got spicy, I got mild, I got pineapple mango, and I got the fiery devil's breath. Y'all hit me up, let me know. You could be the next happy, angry customer. My man Bloka over here, you know, doing everything behind the scenes, man. Shout out to Bloka.
listen, man, we're so excited to have our partners with us. We're so excited for the opportunity to work with some really awesome partners. Arkansas Premier Paralegal is at the top of the list. Arkansas Premier Paralegal is an independent contractor located in Northwest Arkansas that specializes in divorce, expungement, unlawful detainers, and criminal defense. They provide negotiable pricing for both private attorneys and to the public. With over 10 years of experience, they're capable of assisting with your legal needs in a professional and courteous manner. Give them a call today, 479-684-6248, or you can search them for on Facebook, Arkansas Premier Paralegal. For more information, that's Arkansas Premier Paralegal. So look, man, we're gonna get back into it, bro. While we're here, I did do all the work, all the work on this. So it is best for me to get back and get this work done. So we'll take about 15 minutes on each. We got football to talk about. I'm super excited about it, man. So I'm gonna start with the game that you brought up in the pros as we talk about. So while I'm doing that, tell me a little bit about week one, what you saw, what you thought.
Honestly, what I thought that I saw, what I know that I saw, it was a lot of guys being rusty. That was a thing. A lot of guys didn't play in the preseason, and you get to see that. We talk about the Houston game. Got to see Tank Dell. He had the same amount of touches as Stephon Diggs, target wise, but he wasn't that dynamic receiver after we seen him last year doing the same thing. We talk about the slow start for the Jets. It was a fast start, but then it would just look really diabolical. Don't know what happened there. We just look at a lot of slow starts, and I think a problem with that is preseason in general is a problem.
Yeah.
Look, you got to get these guys going. And I understand we doing this whole thing where there don't need to be injuries and all of that. We got to be careful, protect the guys. But man, we need better starts. I looked at a stat. Earlier today where it was like quarterbacks averaged 186 yards and a half for the first week compared to 2021, where it was 226 yards.
Wow. Yeah,
that's
the
a
numbers
huge
were way
drop-off.
down this year.
It's a huge drop off from the first week into 2024 to the first week in 2021. Has a lot to do with preseason, man.
Yeah.
My takeaways is wanting to pay attention to the rookies a lot.
Okay.
Bo Nix did not look like Bo Nix. Wow. And I don't know if that's just not having guys out there or him just not being out there, but he was out there for predominantly most of preseason.
Yeah, it was all very, 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 very dependent on they were just planning to make him the starter, and a lot of his preseason was about getting him ready. It was
Right.
very clear.
I'll tell you another thing that really got to me was watching that Philadelphia Eagles and Green Bay Packers game.
Okay.
It was a shootout. Don't get me wrong. It was a huge shoot. It was a great shootout. Great game to watch. I don't want to talk about the Chiefs and the Ravens because, that's whatever. It's hit or miss with those two teams. You're never going to know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk about something that I don't think people realize in that game. The Eagles secondary in that game was atrocious. That did not look like a defense that just came, 2 years ago, just came back, was just at a Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't look like it at all.
This is the very different Eagles defense, and they don't look unstoppable. They don't look overbearing. We talked about it, and I predicted them, and I still believe that they'll win the NFC East, but it may be a lot closer than we originally thought.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let me shout out to Washington real quick. Washington, as I said, I did tell you before, in week one of this episode, man, when we first started doing this, I told you asked me what my prediction was going to be for the Washington Redskins, or Commanders, should I say. They're going to be a team that is going to be 7-10, 8-9. They're going to be in the cusp of maybe making, quote unquote, will this team make the wild card, or will they actually destroy somebody's dreams
Yeah.
From getting into the wild card, but I don't see them going into the playoffs this year. This is a rebuilding stage, and we see the first year. Jaden Daniels automatically looks like the part of a runner, but throwing the ball, he didn't get the ball to the number one receiver, which I did not like.
Yeah.
And that's bad. That to me, that's really bad. You don't get the ball. It took to the third quarter for Terry McLaurin to get his first catch of the season in the third quarter. That's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's an issue.
That is really bad.
But it makes you wonder what kind of, so when you think about that, I think about what kind of relationship are they building? How hard have they worked together? How frequent have they worked together? Because, one of the things, and you talked about the rookies, and he definitely, I will say this, he definitely was one of the more impressive rookies, certainly compared to
electrifying.
Compared to the other rookie quarterbacks that played, he definitely was at the top of the list, including the number one draft pick, which we'll get to that shortly. But
there was a play, man. I'm gonna touch base on this, man, real quick. There was a play in that game that I watched. He's going down the slide, and his cleats get caught, and half his body is still up, and he just falls. If he doesn't fall, he gets hit. He's probably knocked out the game.
Yeah, for
Sliding needs to be taught to these rookies.
That's right.
This isn't college football. Like I need people to understand this is not college football. These guys are still like, even though they had changes in the kickoff, to stop all of that, which that's another thing I want to talk about at another time. But I think the kickoff is horrible. I do not like it. But for quarterbacks who are running, you got to slide, and if you're not sliding correctly, I feel like this is I pray and I hope this does not happen. I do not want this to be a Robert Griffin III scenario.
Right.
I don't.
And one of the things, there was a highlight that I saw, and of course, living down here in Baton Rouge, I saw it for 2 years. A lot of Jaden Daniel. He's a great runner, and he's a tough runner. But, these linebackers are much bigger than 210 and 215. They're 230, 240. They're big guys that also can move very well. So when it comes to, running in the pros, he's got to be more selective, and he's got to make sure that he's protecting himself, because Washington is banking on him a lot. And I'm not a big company guy, but at the same time, you got to know, like, hey, there's a lot of what's going on, invested into Jaden Daniels, and he's got to be healthy for them to be successful for long term. And they're expecting that sort of thing from him, and they've invested a lot in making it so he's got to be healthy and maintain and be safe. And when he does run it, and you talk about sliding, man, there's a lot of quarterbacks that do slide or that do run. The game's going to the mobile quarterback now, so it's so important that everyone's safe. Obviously,
I was gonna say, man, since you saying that, you talking about rookie QBs. I need you to talk about
well, our first year guy, and so it was ironic in talking about the Steelers and talking about Justin Fields, and that out of the blue, Russell is it seemed like it was so quick how quickly it happened that he was put on the don't play list. I mean, the guy was down there in his shoulder pads. Which, of course, that's Russell, but that's who he is, and that's what he's into, and that's his personality. So you can't be upset with it. Overall, I'll say this: one of the things that some of my partners, shout out to James Kane, Hustleman Kane from the radio, one of the radio stations in Little Rock. He's a big Steelers fan, and he leads the Steel City, Arkansas group. We're definitely gonna have him on to talk about Steelers and sports in general.
Please don't.
Yeah. Well, he was also going to talk about USC and a couple other things too. So it's
not okay.
It's not all Steelers.
I got you.
But man. So like he said something. He said, he asked the question, "Who do you want to start?" And my answer is still Russell, because believe it or not, the Steelers are in win now mode, right? TJ turns 30 this year, if he's not already 30. Cam Hayward is 35. Minka Fitzpatrick is 27, 28.
You watched that game?
I most certainly did. And what I saw What I
TJ
saw
Watt's a
is
man possessed.
and look, you had 2 strip sacks taken away. And he
How are
still
you hyping up the Atlanta Falcons crowd in
That
Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
That wasn't the Atlanta Falcons crowd, baby.
All I'm saying is when he did that, I said, man, just turn it off. This game's over. Man, there was just nothing they could do against TJ Watt. Now, TJ Watt probably is the best. And I have to say that he's the best defensive lineman in the league right now. Got to give it to him.
He's a great rushman. And so, I actually shout out to my man Eric Rush in our old fantasy league. I'm not a part of the league this year. I stepped away this year, but I still stay in the group so I can talk trash. And so, man, we had a conversation. Now, he's a Cowboys fan, and we talked about how TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, and Myles Garrett, the 3 best pass rushers right now. And there's going to be a list of young guys that are on their way up, but those 3 are the gold standard, gold, silver, bronze right now. And, when we talk about it, one of the things that he talks a lot about is how Micah Parsons gets double teamed so frequently. And that's an amazing thought because, it means a lot. Now, when we looked at the numbers, and I'll have to pull up the stat sheet that he showed. Of course, Micah Parsons leads in double teams. And I think the reason why is because there's not, there's DeMarcus Lawrence on the other side of him, but this is not the DeMarcus Lawrence from 5 years ago. He's not as dominant. He's still great, but he's not as dominant. And so from that, you understand that he's not, we know if we can double Micah and lock him up on one side and everybody else can go one-on-one, and then you got plenty of time as far as your pass rush, as long as you can get Micah taken care of. Now, of course, that's easier said than done because, he's double teamed almost 40% of the time, but he still is like second or third in sacks. He's ungodly because he's a freak athlete. I can't imagine what it would be like to actually have to pass set against somebody who's 240, almost 250, and is a 4.3 40 and all those numbers and what he does. And he needs no endorsement from me. We've seen what he does, but it's when you look at him versus Myles Garrett, who is again 280 pounds and is a freak of nature, and then there's TJ Watt, who doesn't have blazing speed, and he's the smallest of the 3. I
noticed what he was doing. I noticed what he was doing a lot in the game against Atlanta, and he was basically timing. His timing is impeccable off that snap. By looking at the snap, by looking over and going, all right, I'm ready.
Let's go. And he's out of like a cannon. Yeah.
It's exactly. And it was just how quick he was getting under. There was a lot of moves he was doing that remind me a lot of like Lawrence Taylor. Remind me a lot of what his brother was doing when his brother used to go underneath a guy to get the sack. Like I'm pretty sure his brother JJ is probably showing him more things than he has ever thought. Like,
of course, yeah,
man.
And the way he came out is the way he came out from the first game. And so let me say publicly, when we drafted TJ Watt, I was upset. Did not want him. I wanted Jabril Peppers. At the time, we needed a playmaking safety, and Jabril Peppers had been that at Michigan. And so that was I thought that we would go after him.
So you wanted a safety and a punt returner. That's what you – I get what you're saying, who now plays for the Patriots, I don't know what he's doing over there. But, yeah, man.
He hasn't been terrible, but he ain't been TJ Watt. And so the interesting thing about it is that the Browns picked Peppers the pick before us. So it's like, well, what do we do? And so they went and got this guy, TJ Watt, and I was like, oh, it's just JJ's brother. JJ's good, but he doesn't stay healthy, blah, blah, blah. We had gone through that, and it's just like, man, I really wish that we would have went after a safety or something like that. There's much better players we could have went through. That's what I said. And I've got friends who can verify that. I was very upset. And so the first game of the season, TJ comes out, he has like a sack, a pick, a forced fumble, like 6 tackles. The kid is a playmaker. And from that point on, man, this dude has been a baller. And it's just because he's going to work hard. But, and so one thing I'll say, when in talking about this, pass rushers and what they mean for their teams, you look at what Myles Garrett has done in Cleveland. You look at what Micah Parsons has done in Dallas. Those two guys, and look, we can go on, right? Chase Young, what he and Montez Sweat did for y'all.
Nope. Don't do
when
that.
When they were healthy.
Don't do that. Please do not compare Chase Young to any of those guys, because Chase Young showed out to be a 1-year wonder. And what I mean by that, a 1-year wonder. 1 year. Okay. 1 year. Ever since his first year, defensive rookie of the year.
Oh, yeah.
He got that award. Man, where has Chase Young been? He has been to 2 different teams in 1 year. I don't want to hear it. I think what we did for draft picks, I think what we got, solid. Now, I always thought Montez Sweat was way better.
Yeah,
he plays better. He plays harder. Chicago did him justice by taking him and keeping him.
Well, so and
also shout out to Simone Biles' husband for getting a scoop block fumble or scoop block and taking it to the house. And then you see she puts a tweet out there. I almost had a heart attack. Damn, you didn't believe in your husband? Golly. I know he played for the Green Bay Packers, and we don't. He was irrelevant, but man, how do you put that tweet? I almost had a heart attack. What? Because he got the ball and ran and did what he was supposed to. He did his job, so you had a heart attack because he did his job.
But look, man, you bring up Montez Sweat, and that was next on my list because you look at what he's done for Chicago, who had no pass rush prior to his arrival. And in the last 7 weeks when he joined after he joined the team, those last 7 weeks they went from bottom of the barrel. This is a total, right?
To middle pack.
They went to 18. But if you look at those last few weeks, when he kind of got into his groove, nobody had more sacks than the Bears. And then they went out. You look at what they did week 1. Speaking of week 1 reactions, man, what they did week 1, because I alluded to it earlier talking about the number 1 draft pick having less than 100 yards on 14 completions out of 29 attempts. He was less than stellar. And it was the running joke. I put it on our Instagram page. The running joke was they see the big fella flip over and his twin brother shows up, and it said the Bears going from Justin Fields to Caleb Williams, and it was more of the same. But one of the things that defense, and I started the Bears defense in a fantasy league, and I was like, man, I don't know about this at first, but then as I turned over to look at the Steelers, and I turned back to my fantasy league, and I saw the 2 touchdowns and the 2 sacks and interceptions. And man, these guys were just, they are flying around the field.
I picked up the last minute?
Yeah.
You want to know who I picked up the last minute?
Who you get?
I'm sorry, Frankie. I'm sorry. He told me to go F myself when I told him this. I picked up the Vikings the last minute, and they gave me the highest scoring defensive points. And I still lost by 0.06 because Brandon Ayuk could not get the ball. They weren't throwing the ball to him. They were going ahead and say, "Here, Jordan. Here, Jordan Mason. Here.
Tell me about that, man. So tell me, I got a theory, and I've been talking about it for a while, but I haven't said it too often. So tell me your thoughts in responding to Jordan Mason and what he did.
Honestly, I was when watching that game, I was highly anticipating that Brock Purdy was going to throw the ball a little bit more.
Sure.
I didn't think they would go to the run game like that. And this is me being honest. I didn't think they were going to go to the run game at all. Yeah. I honestly thought that, hey, man, they don't have CMC. They got this rookie. They're going to give him a couple touches like they do every other running back. They can give him this touches here. They had Wilson out there. We're just gonna move the chains a little bit. We're gonna dunk the ball. Let our playmakers do something.
They even had Debo run it like 8 times or something like that, if I remember looking at the stats.
So I was looking at that and I realized what Kyle Shanahan was doing. Kyle Shanahan said, "Hey, y'all scored great. Now let me show you what my offensive line can do."
So let me tell you something, man. We thought
I'm mad. I'm mad. Like I'm highly mad. I wanted to try. I was talking to a bunch of people. I was like, should I trade Brandon Ayuk? They're like, man, it's his first week. No, man, he had 2 receptions. No.
Oh my God. So look,
I was so mad. I'm gonna be honest. I was real. When I say I was highly upset, man, you cost me my first week in fantasy by 0.06.
So it might have been my fault, just to be completely honest, because I said I was playing against. I had George Kittle going, and I was playing against Garrett Wilson and Brock Purdy in another league, and so I was like, God, we got to figure this out so that way for somehow George Kittle can score a touchdown without Brock Purdy doing it. And it didn't quite work out that way, but George Kittle had a better game than Brock Purdy. But I still lost because of Garrett Wilson. So here's my prevailing theory, right? The Shanahans do this better than anybody else. They have a scheme, and it doesn't matter who you put in it. Now, I will tell you, they've got some of the most talented offensive weapons, whether it be skill players like Ayuk and Debo and CMC, or linemen like Trent Williams and McGinchey, and that offensive line is fantastic as well. And even Yves Sheck, their fullback, it plays a huge part in what they do, catching the ball, running the ball, setting up blocks. But their scheme is the thing. And if you look at their scheme, you can follow Kyle Shanahan. Not only can you follow Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniels, the Saints offensive coordinator. I don't even know this guy's name. And it's the same thing that I was praying that they would do when we decided that we weren't going to go with our running back and our interim offensive coordinator over in Pittsburgh after they got rid of Canada. My prayer was that they would go find someone from inside of Shanahan's coaching staff. And what did we see from the Saints when the last weekend or this past weekend against the Panthers? 47 points. You and I talked about it. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in a bit.
Whoa. Look. We cannot sit here and talk about 47-10 and give credit to the Saints. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not. Now I'm gonna sit right here. I'm gonna say it right now on Fanatic Sports Talk, right now, live. I'm gonna say, y'all, anybody that's watching, y'all mark it down. I'm sorry, but you played a D1 school.
Oh my gosh. Look, okay, so all right, so then this is a perfect segue. Let's jump right into it. And we'll start about it. This is my game that I'm excited to see, mainly because I am down here in Louisiana and I hear so much about it. Between these Cowboys and these Saints fans, I don't know what to tell you. It's a lot to see. It's gonna be a spectacle. But I'm predicting, this is my angry hot take, brought to you by Mr. Detail, is that I think the Saints are going to put up 30 points again this weekend against the Cowboys defense. There, I said it. So let me take you back to what I'm saying about Shanahan and his offense. And
the Cowboys ain't D1.
Yeah, hey, I'm telling you that. Well, how well did the Cowboys defense do against the 49ers?
The Cowboys didn't play the 49ers.
Now, last time they played the 49ers, how did it look?
Atrocious.
And how many points did the Niners put up? It was over 30. So what I'm saying is this. I'm saying that the Shanahan,
I just grew some hair.
the Shanahan offense, that's their scheme is so tight and it is so easy to learn that because you got to think, right? So we're talking about Brock Purdy. And yes, Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. And yes, in order for the scheme to work, you've got to have the types of players that can make plays. But when you get the right players in the scheme, or for whatever reason the scheme works, Jordan Mason put up, 147 yards and a touchdown? And he could have had another one, but they gave it to Debo. So I mean, that scheme is almost bulletproof because before CMC was in San Francisco, they went to the Super Bowl with Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert. Okay. And both of those guys were dominant, and they left San Francisco to go get paid big bucks because people thought, these guys are going to be great. They're great all the time. Raheem Mostert went to another Shanahan scheme off of that Shanahan branch, right? Matt Breida did not. Matt Breida went to I know last Buffalo. I saw he was in Buffalo, and then he went to the Giants.
And he then went to the Giants.
And what has he done in that time since?
Nothing. Nothing. Again. The Giants and the Giants and the Panthers. Those are D1 schools. Actually, D3 schools. Those are D3 schools. Okay.
But hey, so the Bills are
the Green Fayetteville Bulldogs could beat them.
The Bills are a good team, and he did nothing. I think that this Shanahan scheme, and I'll tell you where I figured out I derived this. Okay, so again, going back to last season, inside of that Steelers Arkansas group, we talked a lot about what we wanted to see offensively, right. And we weren't able to see it.
Though.
Yeah, so we saw it, and there's a lot to the scheme. But Shanahan, and they said, well, so then Brock Purdy takes over, and we say, well, how come Kenny Pickett can't be like Brock Purdy? What is Brock Purdy doing that Kenny Pickett's not doing? And what we came up with is Brock Purdy has an outstanding offensive mind sitting behind him. That same offensive mind made Matt Ryan an MVP. And what did we see? Matt Ryan was good before Shanahan, but how much better was he in the Super Bowl where they were up 28-3? No, they didn't win. There's a lot to be questioned
I'm glad
about.
You said that
because your head coach was also on that staff. But when you get a Shanahan system inside of what you're doing, it makes it easier. And I'll give you proof positive as we move on. I do want your thoughts on Cowboys versus Saints, but we're about to talk about the Dolphins versus the Bills as well. And that's
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Look, man, as I mentioned before, and I told you earlier, before we started the show, I'm going to tell the viewers out there,
sure.
Look, man, not getting the ball to your star receiver is just, and you still won 47-10. Shows me what you were playing against.
And I mean, and look, listen.
It also shows me who won the trade to get Bryce Young.
Oh yeah, that trade. We're gonna have a talk about that trade. You and I will sit down and talk about that trade.
You just think about it. Like, I just want people to understand that trade and just understand it real quick. You got Bryce Young.
Yeah,
the guy has no offensive weapons around him.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders are
they're not it. They're not it.
That's not your running back core. And if you're picking them in fantasy this week, if you think they're going to do something, I'm sorry, but leave them on a bench. I'm just gonna say, leave them on a bench.
I'm picking whoever the Panthers played. I'm picking their defense.
I picked the Commanders over New York. I don't believe in that. I'm sorry. You got your receiver over there talking about, I don't know what they're doing back there. That's bad, and he's a rookie.
Oh, that's bad.
You better start DeVito.
It's not.
But you might want to start Drew Lock.
It's not a good look.
But to talk about this Cowboys Saints game, man, look, if it's gonna be an impressive game to me, I need to see a Cowboys running game. Let me tell you that right now. If I don't see a Cowboys running game, which I did not see last week, and they're known for running. If I don't see that running game, there's a problem. There is a huge, huge problem if I don't see a running game from the Cowboys. And that's bad. That's really, really bad. Because if you have Ezekiel Elliott, you got, what's his name? Waddle, whatever his name is. I don't really know too much about the Cowboys like that because, Jerry Jones has made me dislike this team so much. But you have two running backs that can get something going, and you can't do anything. You still have a great offensive line. That's bad. Really, really bad. Well, guys, let's take this time out real quick, man. This is my angry take. I'm going to say this real quick. Was brought to you in part by Mr. Detail. Are you tired of seeing dirt and grime on your vehicle? Let Mr. Detail visit you. Mr. Detail is a top-notch detail company that will leave your car sparkling like new, whether it's a full exterior wash, interior vacuuming, or premium waxing. Mr. Detail has you covered. With their expert staff and top-of-the-line products, you can trust that your vehicle will receive the best care possible. Don't settle for a dirty car any longer. Call Mr. Detail at 479-283-1636. That's 479-283-1636. Call Mr. Detail and don't worry about nothing. Again, guys, as we wait for Bloka to come back after his technical difficulties, because, they're dealing with some power outages, I just want to sit back and talk to you guys about, let's sit back and actually talk about the Razorbacks. And actually, you know what? I don't even want to talk about the Razorbacks. I can't do it. Let's go ahead and just jump into the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins. I think it's going to be a great game. I don't think it's going to be a shootout as we think it's going to be. Granted, Josh Allen did prove to be a hell of a QB without many weapons. And it blows my mind that with him still doing that, he still led fantasy points and QBs. He did something really well. Not having the same dynamic receiver or receiving core, not having, defense, and they barely won the game. Let's just put it that way. But they won. But it's just highly incredible. Highly incredible to see the Buffalo Bills win that game. Miami, wow. We're not going to get into the Tyreek Hill situation because I think we get into the Tyreek Hill situation, we start getting into things that we don't need to talk about. But I feel like there's some teams that have set themselves away as elite teams compared to these mediocre teams. And I think Miami has done that with their offense, but I don't know if they can do it defensively. That's my issue. I don't think they can do it defensively. And it's wild and crazy for me to say that most of these teams that we think that are elite, they become really horrible teams, things like that. But then when you turn around, you look at it like, oh, this team is great. And they're great. We talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. God, I'm not putting the Cowboys up there for all you Cowboy fans. I'm not putting it up there. We talk about the San Francisco 49ers. They didn't have a CMC. Brandon Ayuk, even though you messed me up over on my fantasy, I'm not mad at you. I didn't trade you. Didn't think about it. But I wanted to sit you down on the bench this week. Not going to do it. Just thinking about all of that, man, I just want to, shout out to all these great teams and all these great players to say it's only 1 week. We don't know what this week has in store. We won't know who's going to be great until maybe the 4th or 5th week of this season. So, I definitely want to dive into what I think is going to be a very, very good Monday night football game. And that's going to be the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, the Eagles are coming back from, Brazil. Horrible secondary. Atlanta, They come off a game against the Steelers. They can't do nothing. Okay. Falcons organization come out and say, "Hey, look, we're not blaming his, Kirk Cousins' injury isn't a factor and the reason why his miscues and the reason why he can't get the ball down the field. Look, he's in a new system and he played a lot of pistol. If you think about that, he played a lot of pistol formation, something that Kirk Cousins is not used to doing. He's either running single back formation or he's running in shotgun formation. Um, so you're making him do a lot of things. This will grow as time. Now, we're gonna if we're looking at the Falcons and we're looking at that secondary, I would pick every receiver and running back who are on the Falcons team right now against that Eagles secondary. And what I saw, I'll tell you straight up, I think it's gonna be a very, very high scoring game. Uh, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun Monday night football game, and I'm looking forward to watching this game. I'm looking forward to seeing a Kirk Cousins bounce back game. Looking forward to seeing a Drake London score. Looking to finally see Kyle Pitts do something at the tight end. He came into the league as a very, very high upended tight end, and we haven't seen anything because he's had subpar quarterback play. Now that he's got subpar quarterback play, where does that leave, you know, uh, himself? But now that he's got an actual quarterback that can throw the ball, which we thought last week was going to happen, that never happened. So I don't know. I'm really confused. Really highly impressed with Saquon Barkley and his 3 touchdowns last week. Uh, but I'm just not sold on the Eagles defense. I'm not sold. And I actually might say that the Atlanta Falcons, if they come out and they play right, this might be this might be a 1-1 team. This might be a team that beats the Eagles and puts the Eagles back on their butt. I'm not cursing because I'm not putting anything in the swear jar. I only owe $1 to the swear jar for today. Because of No So and Bernard, them not knowing the rules and things like that. There's about like another $7 in the pot. But I want to shout out the Straight Right Boxing and No So. I really want to say, man, it was a great conversation. Very heartwarming, very heartfelt, very knowledgeable conversation with people who understand the sport of boxing. So, man, Bloka, I don't know where you are. I have no idea. I think Bloka's gone. But guys, I really want to say this. It's week 2, NFL. It's a really great week of sports. It's a really great week of sports. Um, and that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do our last live read, just so that we can honor our sponsors, make sure they're getting everything they need from us, because that is what we do here at Fanatic Sports Talk. Again, I don't know why I keep looking at this Cowboy Saints thing. It makes me want to puke. But it's there. But again, Fanatic Sports Talk was brought to you in part by Legendary Cuts BR. Are you ready to look and feel legendary? Then head over to your Legendary Cuts Barbershop in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Whether you're gearing up for game day or simply looking to look your best, our talented barbers and stylists will give you the winning edge. Experience precision cuts, hot towel shades, and welcoming atmosphere that keeps our legendary customers coming back for more. Call 225-448-3048. Visit Legendary Cuts Barbershop at 10404 Corsi Boulevard in Baton Rouge today and step up your game and be legendary. Again, my name is the Angry Puerto Rican. I am Anthony Roman. Have no idea what is going on and what's about to happen next, but we're going to keep this on so that this whole thing saves. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Literally, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being involved with Fanatic Sports Talk. And next week, we got a really huge interview coming up. We thank you guys for tuning in. Again, shout out to Noel Sosa from the Vibe Tribe. Shout out to Bernard, Big Smooth, Oliver from Straight Right Boxing. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you, and shout out to my esteemed co-host that I work with and have the pleasure of working with every Wednesday at 2 p.m. sharp Central. That is Bloka Mitchell. I am Anthony Roman, also known as the Angry Puerto Rican. Peace.